proceed ahead. Brigadier Khanna sir, you said you wanted to talk about the importance of the Saltoro Ridge, which is about 90 kilometers long, and that there is a professional possibility of a team of say 2 people to come in and interdict our logistic routes to Siala Bilafondla. You may like to talk about that. And then you said that you wanted to talk about the step-motherly treatment. So we close these two issues and then we progress ahead as Kabir says.
Okay, okay, and let me start this way that the appreciation in the command headquarters and the corps headquarters was that a determined enemy may cross the Saltoro Ridge and interfere with our operations which we are trying to build up along the Siachen, along the Nubra and the Siachen. And Saltoro range, starting from Indra Call, with 3 important passes which Siala, Bilafondla, and Gyongla. In addition to that, a determined person can get over in small bits, small numbers anywhere. So that was their appreciation, which was totally discounted by the lower headquarters, that is the sector headquarters.
Which was represented by Brigadier Channa.
I'm not naming persons, so it is just by appointments I'm going. So, in my opinion, was the same, and my subsequent deployment after reconnaissance on the ground, which was made, which I can explain you later, or I can even do it. You see, and decided that at the most, I will require 2 companies, and which 2 companies to go there, that decision was to be made. And then I had a reconnaissance towards the base camp, right up to the base of the Siachen, snout of the glacier. And having had a look at it, I decided that the majority of my battalion should be in this area. And side or on the other side, the rest of the troops could be moved. It was a matter of a couple of days, in fact, even less, that the movement could take place. So based with the rest of the battalion, 2 companies having gone to Turtuk, and I met each detachment, each company, when they crossed over from Khardungla and came to Kalsar, I met them, I spoke to them, and I had a Sainik Sammelan. I addressed the troops and allayed their fears and told them that I've been to all these places and there is nothing to worry about. We were capable of taking on any task in that area. So this was as far as my assessment is concerned. And thereafter, having come to the Siachen area, Nubra Valley, with my battalion, less 2 companies, that is where I had no task as far as the sector headquarters was concerned, they thought that we were imposed on them. They were not wanting us there. In a way, they were not wanting us because they thought that firstly, we are not required. And secondly, uh, we are going to share their equipment and dresses, winter dresses and equipment, particularly mountaineering.
So I think it's
On Turtuk is concerned, I told them that.
Khanna sir, there is a
Can you all hear me?
sir, there is a little connectivity issue. Possibly, you may consider switching off your video. Is that okay, Kabir?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So, Brigadier Khanna sir, if you could switch off your video, then we would get your audio audibly. Thank you, sir.
So very quickly, one quick question. What was the composition of the C&D companies?
C&D companies. C&D companies were all Kabanis.
Okay, all right.
All Kabanis, and Alpha company is a Kahir company. Those are the people who belong to the plains,
Right.
and Kabanis belong to the hills.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, sir,
Kabir,
just
you had
one.
a question?
Yes, I had one question that you said that basically Brigadier Channa had a different view, and essentially it means that Yongla was overlooked. Like they felt that Yongla is not an important point, and they should just concentrate on the other points. So and you felt that it was very important to protect it from there. But was this something that came up in that briefing in those war games where you said the first time they were showing all the points?
Yeah, this was discussed in the war game as to what Pakistan can do.
And Brigadier Channa said it's not important, or they said it's not possible.
Yes, because his view was that the rest of the Saltoro range is impossible. And unfortunately, I didn't want to say that, but let me say that the sector commander had not been on any of the glaciers. He had not spent the night on the glacier, and his information was just aerial reconnaissance.
Correct.
As far as the Saltoro is concerned,
yes,
except for these two passes, the forward passes,
yes,
no crossing has taken place, no recorded crossing, even by a civilian mountaineering expedition has taken place across Gyongla or any of the other passes south of Belafodla. And Gyongla is the highest pass.
correct. So I mean, and the logic behind that being a civilian expedition will obviously look for the easier and the lower pass. They would not come over a higher pass if there's a lower pass available next to that pass.
You're right, but mountaineers by nature want to explore everything.
Everything. And so, sir, the sector commander, which is Brigadier Channa, is the one who then actually, when he was flying over it, spotted the enemy near Gyongla and then came and reported it to your unit. Is it the same person? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a good. So it's sort of it comes around circle then.
So I'm talking of the period in April.
Yes.
In the last 2 weeks of April, this was my appreciation and this was my deployment. And the deployment was discussed with Brigadier Channa, and he did approve it that 2 companies can go there and the rest of the battalion should be in the Siachen Glacier.
Yeah.
And as far as the 2 companies were concerned, my instruction to them, the ones who were in Turtuk, that they must keep training themselves in a way that they can be deployed at higher altitudes anytime required, and they must keep themselves physically fit and have the weapons zeroed and working. And the men should be, accustomed to the firing in high altitudes. Now, coming down to as far as the Siachen side is concerned, those two, the rest of the battalion with me there, uh, basically no task was given to me.
Mm.
The only tasks which were given to me, because they thought, since I have the manpower and the resources, they should take away whatever they can from us. They wanted waiters. Uh, they wanted
Bugler,
a ceremonial
guard.
guard for the commander, a bugler. I had to tell them that, I have come with a limited equipment and all these frivolous things I have not brought along. Even the men had not brought any of the ceremonial dresses. They were just in their normal high altitude clothing.
When you say they wanted a bugler, what exactly do you mean by that, sir?
Bugler, the person who blows the bugle.
But why would they want something like that?
Because they were having a peacetime life there. When I say peacetime, I emphatically say that the families were staying there. It was a summertime and the families had come in and were coming in. And as far as the people from the sector was concerned, there was no restriction on leave. CO4 Kamau was on leave. And each post, wherever I went on the other side, was depleted to about 60%, 50% of the strength. So they were really not thinking it to be an operational thing.
So correct me if I'm wrong, sir, but basically then the operation that you were given in their mind was nothing. They were basically going to be patrolling the lower reaches of the Siachen and Turtuk and not really doing anything in Operation Meghdu. I mean, as far if things went according to Brigadier Channa's plan, your unit would not have been involved in Operation Meghdu.
In fact, they never wanted us there. It was the corps commander who put his foot down, and he told that this battalion will be there, and this battalion will be for the security purposes. This battalion will have the address care of 4 Kamau. 19 Kamau will not be mentioned anywhere. And even till as late as 2 years back, when Tribune published, 30th anniversary or something like that of this operation 3-4 years back, they mentioned me as the commanding officer of 4 Kamau. So, this deception kept working.
So there was secrecy.
Till as late as,
So the corps commander was Hoon.
Hoon, yeah.
So why was this difference of opinion about Unnis between Hoon and Channa?
Actually, I wouldn't call it a difference of opinion. People have a difference of opinion, firstly. And then secondly, it was not a difference of opinion. It was being expressed in a negative manner.
No, what I mean is that Hoon is a senior officer and Hoon believed strongly in Unnis, and that's why you feel that Channa and the others felt that you people were imposed on them. So yes. I'm saying obviously Hoon had a high evaluation of Unnis. Hoon felt
obviously.
So I'm just trying to say, why would like two officers were so senior? Why was there such a big difference in personal perspective on your unit? Is there any history to it? Is there anything that had happened between the two, or anything had happened between Channa and your unit for them to have this divergence of view?
You see, as far as my unit was concerned, it was in a different formation, hundreds of kilometers apart. So I have not known Brigadier Channa. and he had not known me. He had not known our battalion. His idea was that additional troops are not required. Corps commander put his foot down that this battalion is going to move and it will be my reserve, that sort of a thing, because he rightly anticipated that something may happen for which the reserve troops are required.
Okay.
And in his book by Lieutenant General Jalal, that Pakistani Corps commander
General,
was there.
yes.
Pakistani general. I quoted him in my
Yes.
book also.
Yes, I see
Taken from
that.
Nitin's book. Yeah. Saying
So
that.
let me add on and respond to Kabir on this issue of perceptional differences between General Hoon and Brigadier Channa with an analogy from closer home to you. Why are outsiders treated the way they are in Bollywood?
So
The answer to my question would give you an inkling into the answer to your question.
just to set,
When there is a cozy coterie going on, and there are certain projections made to higher headquarters, the truth of which is only known to a cozy coterie, and then you have an outsider coming in with the potential of blowing the lid, because so far that outsider is not under your reporting channel and, in your terminology, not under the influence of the cozy coterie, problems are bound to start with the aim of ousting the outsider. I'm talking of Bollywood. Extrapolate to the extent practical and you all well understand what I'm talking about. The second thing I want to say,
just one irrelevant point, but I totally understand the analogy, but just want to put on record that the narrative of insider outside being spouted by our channels is completely false.
Okay, point taken. Now go to the point where Brigadier Khanna said,
sorry?
He's the role model of an outsider making it so successfully in Bollywood.
I was from Delhi, a documentary filmmaker. My father was a professor. I have been accepted by open arms by all the insiders.
Great, speaks good of you. So the second point is, when Brigadier Khanna spoke about the sector commander not having stepped on ground, I want to add that the initial planning was done off the map, and the maps with the degree of survey there and the vintage there. Secondly, he said that the recce was done by the aerial survey. This is amply given in the book, in here Brigadier Khanna's book on page 8080 in the last paragraph. So I'm giving you the corroboratory reference to the book, page 80, last paragraph. The next point you mentioned, Kabir, was about mountaineers selecting lower passes. Since I'm a mountaineer,
yes,
let me share with you that mountaineers don't select lower passes.
Okay.
We go for mountaineering for the thrill of the adventure, danger, and degree of difficulty. Otherwise, why would a guy climb Everest? Yeah. Why would I attempt a world record in climbing Mount Comet from the west face when it is easily climbable from the east face? In 1932, Frank Smythe had declared the west face unclimbable because I had to negotiate a 3,000 feet ice cliff, and therefore we were refused to be insured. We had to go in uninsured. And yes, we failed. And yes, I was momentarily for about 15 minutes declared dead under a small avalanche. And yes, the team made it back. That's why I'm here talking to you today. The fact is, mountaineers don't avoid higher passes in favor of lower. Second point on this, you are talking of civilian expeditions. Please expand your understanding of Siachen civilian expeditions to include army mountaineers with an understated military motive of the civilian expedition. And then you will realize that the preference for both the civilian, for the thrill of mountaineering, and the military, for the military objective, will be the higher passes. Third, when you come to the differences between two personalities, one senior, one junior, I would only like to tell you what I teach in my management to the executive MBA people. There are things like subjective adverse biases which come into play. And the manifestation of the bias or the perception leading to the bias, Brigadier Khanna has covered that we would land up sharing their scarce winter equipment and mountaineering equipment. And if there was glory hunting, we would be taking up slice of the cake, etc. So those are the issues which happen. The underlying thing is that if you are functioning very straight, you would welcome every support that your senior officer, your senior headquarters, your higher organization can give you. But if you are functioning where you are playing your cards close to your chest and making projections which may be a little removed from reality, then you want the coterie to continue. So those are the kinds of things that come to mind. Back to Brigadier Khanna sir.
Yeah, so just a follow-up, just one follow-up. I'm sorry I'm going on about this, but these are the little human sort of weaknesses and strengths that help us create character. And all this is off record, so it will never be like, thing. We're just trying to understand. So would you not say then if Brigadier, who's the sector commander in charge of Operation Meghdoot, he has physically never even seen the glacier, isn't he a wrong choice?
No, I would I would say to that extent that he was commanding that sector, and as a commander, you do reconnaissance. It's such a vast area that he has done only helicopter reconnaissances. As I understood from conversations with him and what I saw of him during my 3 months there. So to that extent, there is nothing recorded about anybody, either civilian or from the military, having gone into any of the glaciers which flow from the Saltaro downwards, except Indrakol, Seala and Belafonla. And here people had walked a lot. 2 or 3 reconnaissances have been led by a commanding officer again, Colonel Bulkumar, the famous mountaineer. He is the one who has done a complete reconnaissance of that area on foot. And I don't know whether anybody, people would have accompanied him from the sector, but to my knowledge and understanding, no senior officer other than him, other than Colonel Bulkumar and his parties, had walked anywhere on the Siachen or any of the other glaciers.
Oh.
I had a very simple question not related to this. What is glory hunting?
You want to come out as the victors, as the people to be perceived as the ones who actually won Siachen. You don't want to share it with. Like if I'm playing football, I don't want to pass the ball to somebody if I think I can score the goal myself.
So if you see a bridge too far, which is about the 101 American Brigade and the Allies landing at Arnhem in Europe, and you see the thought process beautifully portrayed by the director of the German colonel there, that is glory hunting. I will be the man remembered. What is Xi Jinping doing now? Because I have a broadcast now on international geopolitics. What is Xi Jinping doing now? It is not in China's interest. It is personal glory hunting to surpass Mao as the man to be remembered for China's destiny. So this is glory hunting.
Let me come in here and
happening back home also,
this.
Trying to surpass.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Acha, okay. So what I was saying is that till about 4 years back, till about 3 years back, nobody had heard about 19 Kamau going on the glacier. And nobody spoke about it. As good commanders, people should have, when there were books being written, and so many books have been written about the subject, and nobody has in his interview mentioned the name of 19 Kamau in that. They wanted to keep it hidden, always hidden. It is only my officers who got after me. He said, at least we should let the people know what we did. And I compiled this book. And it is a contribution of everyone. It is not only my saying. Of course, my contribution is the largest because once everybody agreed to contribute, very few contributions come in. And whatever came in have been verbatim reported in the book. So that is glory hunting. Suppress 19 Kamau and make it only the sector battle. Anything more? Anything which I didn't cover?
No, sir.
So I was telling you.
I think we can move forward to when you then reach the base.
As far as the battalion is concerned, rest of the battalion, which I had taken to on the Siachen side, and we were camping short of the base camp, place called Sobala. That is where we were for about a month or so. That is a time, as I was telling you, no task has been allocated to us. On my own, as I said in my appreciation, the only thing I thought at least the only way where I can be called to help is if Pakistanis come out in any of the other glaciers flowing down from Saltoro towards the Nubra Valley. So I made sure that all the glaciers, starting off from Gyeongla Glacier I'm talking of, because nobody knew where the pass was, including the sector commander and the sector headquarters, because he has been, in the later days, we have been discussing about the location of the pass. His commentary used to be that Gyeongla connecting with Chumik on the other side is the Gyeongla Pass. And we kept banging our head against the Saltoro range to go on to the Chumik glacier, which was flowing on the other side. So continuing with my rest of the thing, Gyeongla, Zingrulma, Liogma, and Lagogma. These are the 4 glaciers, permanent glaciers, which come from the other side. And I sent at least a platoon each in each of them.
Sir, maybe the connection is okay and you could try switching on your video now.
Gulma, through Gyeongla. So once I was in all these glaciers, I was sure that wherever the Pakistanis come, we'll be able to handle them and we will be able to take care of them.
So when you were at the base, this is something which is not clear from your book or from Nitin Gokhale's book. On the 13th of April, did you know that Meghdoot has started? Was that information shared by you?
Not only that, in my book, I was present at the place, at the base camp, when the helicopters took off and took these people on to.
Oh, you were there?
Oh, yeah. I was there. I gave my best wishes to both Pushkar Chand and that commanding officer. Who was that?
Sanjay Kulkarni.
Sanjay Kulkarni. He was the captain that time, and I, gave them best wishes for their journey upwards. I was present there, of course.
And then when you on the 13th you were present there, and then subsequently when did you leave from there to your base?
From where?
From
my base was only about 5-6 kilometers
away from there.
South of the
Okay. So then
it wasn't very much. In fact, let me tell you, the co-commander was there, sector commander was there, I was there, and sector commander got angry with me. Why I have come there? I said I also wanted to give them my best wishes. No, 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 get back to your camp. Get back to your camp. Nobody should see you here. You know, that was the wording which was used to me. So that is glory hunting again.
So let me add on here, Kabir. You would have read in all the books and all the official records that the first battalion into Siachen was 4 Kumaon. And I have specified earlier in my talk yesterday that 4 Kumaon rightly inducted with a total strength of 1 officer, 1 JCO and 27 other ranks. The officer being Sanjay Kulkarni. And if we talk of strengths, about at least 6 to 8 times this strength was present from the Indian Army well before that by way of high-risk missions. 19 Kumaon was the first battalion which established its battalion headquarters on Siachen and which by appreciation put the weight of the battalion, full battalion on Siachen and detached 2 companies for Urdulup Glacier, which is on the Turtuk side. So if you go by plain military deployments, if you go by plain English language, we had the full battalion minus 2 companies on Siachen. The entire sector headquarters and by extension the entire 4 Kumaon had 1 officer, 1 JCO and 27 other ranks on the Siachen Glacier. Brigadier Khanna sir, anything on this?
Yeah,
just one question.
That was what you had said, Kulkarni's detachment, that
Correct.
was on Seala. And similarly on Bilafonla also, there were troops which were from the other battalion of the sector, scouts, the dark scouts.
Correct. So they were not 4 Kumaonis, but they were from the sector. Yes, you had a question.
Very quickly, what was the strength that 19 Kumaon came with? When you say battalion minus 2 companies, what figure are we looking at?
The total strength of the battalion when we left crew was, I think, it is given in my book. By name, the officers are given, and the strength is also given. As far as the men is concerned, it was just below 500.
Just to follow up from that to understand. Okay, so 13th April it began, and Brigadier Channa was not happy to see you there, sir. So did you leave immediately? I mean, then on the 14th, were you there back at your base?
No, actually on the 13th itself, my base, between my base and the base camp, when I'm saying my base, that is the place where my headquarters was located, was just a matter of 5 kilometers.
Okay, so then when you reach your base, were you on a daily basis updated about what was happening over there, or then because then the blizzard came?
Yes.
Oh, so you knew what is happening.
We were trying to update ourselves.
Okay.
You know,
my question is, were you officially being updated?
Officially, in a way, yes.
Okay.
Because my adjutant used to speak to the BM, the brigade major of the sector headquarters, and they used to have a conversation. He used to give his report and understand what else is happening there. So it wasn't not in total darkness. Of course, there were no written messages, no communications with me personally per se.
Yeah.
But my battalion was in total contact. And
so you knew what was happening up there.
All this very well written by my adjutant, that time Captain Samuel. The war diary is compiled, events of every day is compiled in the war diary, including what all messages passed and what all this thing happened. So war diary, it's a secret document and it is lying in the headquarters, available for anyone to have a look at it.
So one more question on the date of the start of the operation. So in a lot of accounts, including Lieutenant General Chipper's account, apparently April was considered too early, and there was a divergence of views between some people saying that April is suicidal and we should wait till May or June. What was your view on that? Did you think one should have gone earlier, or one should have gone waited for the temperatures to come down a bit?
Actually, I would say the military commander who is responsible, in this case, the sector commander, had to decide and which time to go in. And with my limited knowledge, I couldn't have given any comment on that time. My only question to General Chibber that time during the war game was that what will happen, everybody kept saying that go for 3 months and everything will be okay. So I just asked him, what will happen, in case we have to stay longer? The opinion of the higher headquarters that time was, what was given by General Chibber, that after 3 months, within 3 months, and even earlier, Pakistan would be on its knees and we will not require any troops there.
So Chibber was at the war games.
Oh, yes.
And what was Chibber's rank at that point in time? He was junior to Channa.
No. He was Channa's,
So, I'm just... So,
whose
Chibber
boss? Whose boss?
Who's boss? Okay.
Oh, whose boss? Oh, so he was already there.
So the hierarchy was, the sector commander was Channa, his boss was GOC 3 Div, whose boss was GOC 15 Corps General Hoon at Srinagar, whose boss was Lieutenant General M.L. Chibber, based in Udhampur.
Right.
So Chibber was also there at the war games when you were called?
War game which took place in the end of February in Srinagar.
Okay.
There is only one war game which took place.
Okay. So at that place,
I attended.
So at that place, there was Chibber, Hoon, and Channa.
Yes. And the Air Force commander and a lot of other staff officers and, people were there, advisors were there.
So you had in that, you would ask that question, what happens if you have to stick around for longer? And they had said that's an impossibility.
Yeah. So this was the answer that because I had gone from here and I have just catered for 2 sets of uniforms and 1 set of ECC clothing. So I was worried, how will it be replaced for my troops?
Okay, let me address this question of, was April 1984 too early? We need to remember that this was uncharted territory. The deliveries and outcomes expected were unparalleled. There is a world of a difference between a mountaineering expedition scaling a peak versus a military operation on a sustained basis at a particular pace. It was a test of human endurance in what, and this is the critical part, in what emerged over the last 5 months between November 83 and March 84 as to be a race against time to beat the Pakis, which I had said yesterday. Our defense attaches abroad had reported a spree of buying of alpine equipment by the Paki army, which was therefore followed by the Indian guys to go and buy cots commercially off the shelf, whatever we could. So it was a race against time, 1. 2, when we say it is early, we have to benchmark it against something else, which I have told you, it was uncharted territory and unparalleled outcomes expected. So it was not early, it was keeping in pace and trying to outpace the adversary. And in hindsight, we can say whatever, but on that count, the earlier attitudes of downplaying Pakistan, sending mountaineering expeditions there, etc., come into play. But on the ground level, I think people reacted well, and they were able to successfully outpace in most cases like Siala Bilofondla, but not in G3, Yongla. The enemy reached there first, but we reached there thanks to Brigadier Khanna's proactiveness. And this race, Siala Bilofondla, we won. There they won, and we had to dislodge them, which we did. I was the cutting edge at that point. So that is how this issue of was April 84 too early perceived by me.
Sir, just in addition, while there is this sort of thing happening at the higher level of the hierarchy, how is that translating for the Jawans and for y'all on the ground? Knowing that were y'all aware that there's something going on between Khanna sir and Channa sir, or were you kept away from that? How did that translate for people on the ground?
So I'll take this on. I will say this, that Channa was my temporary boss there, sector commander. There is no doubt. I had all the respect for him, and he listened to me, and I listened to him. Wherever required, I put my foot down. That does not mean that I am blabbering out in front of others, including my officers, that there is some disagreement between the two of us. No, there is no question of that.
Okay, now let me add on. There is an old adage, lonely lies the head that wears the crown. Lonely lies the head that wears the crown. Number two, army ethos precludes, and it would be considered very cheap if a boss complained or bad-mouthed his boss in front of his own subordinates. It's not done. Third, notwithstanding the above two, at the functional level, your question is very relevant. And it has manifestations because the staff at the brigade headquarters do come to know, and therefore there are execution issues at the ground level. If the two bosses are in sync, a lot of execution happens much smoother. You are made to wait less when ammunition collection happens. I drove over the night over boulders, actually the tire over boulders at least 1 foot high, trying to skirt the others or stop and push the other boulders away to create a track, because there was no track from where we were parked at the battalion headquarters established backwards. And you reach there at 2 a.m. at night and you want ammunition, and there are unwarranted delays in a warlike situation. So whilst the subordinates are not told anything, just excuse me, there's a bell, just excuse me please.
Yes.
Yes. So as far as your question is concerned, what I would say is that whatever people felt below, that must have been different. But my aim was to, so that they all felt that we are one team,
Right.
whether it is the sector commander or me. There is no disrespect shown at any time. And it was, like Sanjay was saying, people do get an impression at the staff level when it is happening. But from my side, there was no this thing, except that I spoke straight. Wherever I couldn't provide a thing, I said no, I don't have it. And, and as far as the battalion is concerned, CO is the ultimate boss. Nobody can dictate to him, send him there or send him there, or, instead of Alpha Company, you put Charlie Company there, or instead of Dalip Singh, you put Sanjay there. It is totally the prerogative of the CO. And I, as a CO, having been in command for 3 years almost, trained the battalion to my liking. I was very fortunate to have been with them during operations. And I knew each one, each officer, each man, his qualities, how to handle him, and how to take work out of it. And obviously, each one in the battalion knew, even without my saying, what I wished, and that was carried out as a command.
Sir, could you try and switch on your video now? Maybe the connection is better.
Okay, I'll try it.
And
Here we are.
sir, from this point, would you like to talk about the step-sisterly treatment on ground, how it happened, the shortage of material and ammunition, etc., as we progressed into Meghdut?
Yeah.
Can we start on that thought by explaining how there can be unwarranted delays at 2 o'clock at night when you're gone to collect ammunition?
Okay, so the army functions on standard procedures, and there are different standard procedures for war. And whilst in your house, the lady of the house, maybe your mother may have said, "Haath dho ke masale ka dibba chuna hai." But there could be a circumstance when you need to put haldi on a child who's been bitten by a wasp. You will touch the masale ka dibba without washing your hands. However, if I am the sentry on the masale ka dibba, I'll say, no, go wash your hands first. So you lose 10 seconds. Okay, I have not got an authorization to issue you this ammunition. I will get the authorization, fine. So I will get the authorization when the guy wakes up, and as a favor, instead of 8 o'clock in the morning, first thing at office hours, I will get him when he wakes up at 5:30. So you look at yourself caught by the police, how you are handled under the same law. Somebody could have a very good experience, somebody could have a rather unpleasant experience under the framework of the same law and under the same minor transgression of a rule. And you cannot fight back. So there are many things on ground which happen, which impede, delay, and more importantly, demoralize. The guys who come to collect something are your cutting edge. They are the ones going to give you their lives. You are a service provider in civil terms. And the service provider's boss, therefore, makes all efforts to say customer is king, again in civilian terms. In military terms, the cutting edge troops from the battlefront are the customer. So there are practical manifestations of things where discretion comes in, and beyond a point, you can't question it, you can't argue it, you have to lump it.
So as far as the step-motherly treatment is concerned, when we started from crew, we were told what all we could expect in Leh and what all we could expect in Partapur as far as the equipment is concerned. Some of the ammunition, like the mortar ammunition and small arms ammunition, that could be collected from that place because, we were carrying very, very heavy loads. Then thereafter, things of daily requirement, medical supplies, then things of food. We were not given fresh rations. I mentioned in the book when I got my first fresh rations after having spoken to the commander himself. Whereas all these things were being supplied by helicopters to the 57 men who have been there before us. Before us on the ridges. As far as we are concerned, we were on almost the same heights. We were not getting fresh. We were not getting any helicopter support to deliver the food there or any of the important things. And fortunately, we had no casualty. But the result, there was no requirement of a casualty evacuation. I don't know whether we would have got it or not. A very, very essential thing, a reconnaissance for me was never given, even on important dates, which I'll mention later. Mountaineering equipment, things like crampons, ice axe, ropes, pitons. These are the things, even if you have to climb a 6-foot wall of ice, which was, which I'm saying is the shortest, you couldn't do it without this equipment. And in our case, we had to walk around it and try and find the way to go across it. And these walls of ice in the glaciers, particularly at the higher regions, were very, very common. And they were between two spurs, which were razor thin and almost vertical. So you couldn't even go from the side. So as far as climbing up the difficult areas, slightly difficult areas, I won't say difficult for the mountaineers. If you have the equipment, we could have done it. But we had to circumvent it. It took time. Crevice. To cross a crevice, again, you require ropes. You require ladders to put across. And if we came across a crevice which was even 4 feet wide, you can't jump across it. With all that boots you are wearing, with all that equipment, you can't. You have to go around it. Again, it's a waste of time, and you may not find a place to go around it. So these were the basic things of mountaineering equipment, including an avalanche cord, which is a very thin nylon cord, about 15 feet long, which you tie behind your back and when you are climbing up the hill. And if the avalanche comes, you may go down under the snow. Normally, the other edge of it may float up and give an indication if there is somebody buried there.
Yeah.
Even till today, 6 of our bodies have not been found. And if this small little thing like avalanche cord was there, it could have been found. Then as far as the food is concerned, you require pressure cookers. You require, small little things which you can think of in your kitchens. So all these things which we could not carry with us, we were expecting to get it there. Even a local purchase, nothing was available. And
so, sir, in terms of the specialized equipment like the snow suits and all that were given to the units going to Villafondla and Siala, when were you told that you were not getting it?
Snow suits came on, I think, 11th or
12th night.
11th of April.
12th, it says, I think.
11th of April. Yeah, a couple of days before that. And the people who got it also, they got it one set without being fitted properly onto them. So they also got it at the last moment. But every individual amongst those 57, say about 60 people who went to Siala and Villafondla, and say 10 people who went to the base there, they all got it. And I don't exactly remember how many suits were there. Some suits were given to the ski patrols. Incidentally, there was a ski team which was raised. Polo match, that was called, Sanjay?
Pardon, sir?
Well, anyway, Roshan Yadav, what was he commanding?
HRM, High Risk Mission.
High Risk Mission.
HRM.
Okay, one of my officers, who was the quartermaster before
I'll just be
Sanjay.
off for 30 seconds, please.
Yes.
Okay. So he was picked up being a mountaineer and a skier to lead the company of skiers. All good skiing people and mountaineering people were collected from all over the Corps, and they were put under him, Captain Roshan Yadav. He has a full chapter dedicated to himself in my book.
Yes.
He was again from my battalion, and he did an excellent job.
They were given the specialized equipment. They were given the snow suits and everything.
They were also given, very few of them, much later. Much later, because their work started about 10 days after 13th April.
So no, when were you told that you're not getting them? Were you actually told, or you just realized you're not getting them?
No. I was specifically not given. I was asking every day. I said, at least give me 4 sets per platoon so that the sentries who are on night duty can at least wear something warm and be out. You may not give me the tents, you may not give me other things, but at least something to wear for the people who are going to spend the night outside their tents. They must have some clothing, proper clothing. How do you expect them to stand outside and do a guard duty? So I kept asking for these minimum help. I was never given.
And the justification for it being that you were at the base, so you don't need it. What was their
No,
justification?
you see, my troops were already at about 15,000 feet, 14,000, 15,000 feet. When I started patrolling in the first week of May, people, end of April, beginning of May, when I realized that anybody can come in from the other side, we started patrolling these glaciers. By patrolling, I meant they all established 1 camp, 2 camp, 3 camps, and they went up to the place in the glacier uh, beyond which they could not proceed further. And they were all at about 14, 15,000 feet. At that height, you require all this.
But no, I'm saying that were
For
you
the
specifically
sentries.
told that you are not getting them?
I don't have it to be told. I can keep asking and I don't
And
get it.
they were
I don't
ignoring
get
it.
it.
Okay,
No, I'm
here,
saying nobody
They
said
were ignoring
we are
it.
not giving it to you because of some reason, because we're not going to send you up, or because was there anything said, or was it just you were just ignored?
The quartermaster will explain you better.
I was
Sanjay.
the quartermaster kept as a trump card. So nobody will ever tell you no. You go to a government office asking for your file progress. What do they tell you?
Yeah.
हाँ सर हो रहा है, देख रहे हैं सर, विचार हो रहा है, आपका proposal process में है, and the process could take 1 week. If you are suitably influenced, the process could take 1 year and die its slow natural death. But nobody will tell you. And there's an old Punjabi saying, ना करके कहना नहीं, कहाँ करके देना नहीं. ना करके कहना नहीं, काम करके देना नहीं. Okay, now let me
As a
give you, so
soldier,
far we have been talking about specialized equipment. And yes, there is a counter argument that it is very scarce and the prioritization of its delivery is based on perceptions, and every level you want to keep a reserve, whatever. I want to talk about something which is not specialized equipment and which I have faced as quartermaster firsthand. And I had decided I will not take these photographs because by then I knew that then with my meditative state, I will chew the cud on negatives. Sometimes I wish I had those photographs about what I'm now going to talk. There is something issued even in Srinagar. In fact, even much lower than Srinagar. It's what your school children wear in school in winters. They wear a worsted woolen trouser, a dark gray color. That cloth is called worsted cloth. It's a woolen cloth for your trouser. In the army, we call it trouser BD. Don't ask me what BD stands for. So it's a thick woolen cloth which is issued everywhere. Even in Tejpur, we wear it. In Shillong, we wear it. In Delhi also, for a short period of time when the winter is harsh, we wear it. So that is the trouser we had gone with. Now, when that trouser, because you are constantly, it is either rock or snow, so the trouser bums wear off. So when the trouser bums wear off, what do? You stitch it. So we all soldiers have needles and threads, and apart from using rifles, we can also use needles. Now, after stitching it 2-3 times, you can't stitch it anymore. So then you put a patch on that trouser, and the patch people call a talli. Exactly what you see a beggar wearing, a cloth with a patch on it, a talli. Now, where do you get that cloth from? You will never think of it sitting in a metro or in an urban environment. But for a soldier sitting in Siachen, he has to tear his vest to create that patch. So we created those. And when the patch wears off, what do? So you start wearing your PT shorts, the knicker, the khaki knicker that you wear for physical training. You start wearing it under your trouser for protecting basic decency and of course protecting your bums from getting chilblain, which can lead to frostbite. I'm sure you know what chilblain is, the first stage of the extreme cold disease. So you wear a khaki knicker below your trouser BD. And then when it starts chipping off, what do? You stitch the khaki knicker onto your trouser BD. And we have done all this in 19 Kumaon. General Hoon is aware. And as I said yesterday, when Fort Dogra cribbed, he said, and this is on record, if 19 Kumaon could do it, you have got such a better life. So this is about trousers. Now let me tell you about boots. Again, not the alpine ice boots I'm talking about. I am talking of boots which are issued to me even in Bomdila, which are issued to me even in Leh. Anywhere where there is snow, the man is issued a boot RI. It is basically like a civilian gumboot. It has got laces and it has got a stronger, thicker sole. So it's a gumboot with a no fur lining like the civilians have today, but it's basic strong rubber. So because of the extreme harsh rock walking, climbing over it, the boot sole wore off. I'm not even talking of the sizing issues, which are major. You'll find Jawans wearing a boot 2 sizes too big and getting a lot of blisters. I'm not talking of that also. So when the sole wears off, what do? In normal course, well, before the sole wore off, you would have got a replacement boot. Well, I was an inefficient quartermaster. I couldn't get one. Let me put the blame on myself. So what do? Fortunately, straw packing comes along with the CSD items and also with the beer bottles. So our men were very innovative. We put, and a beer bottle straw is a straw cone. So you just gather whatever, when I say straw, twigs, anything, you put it below the boot and you tie wire. Now, where do you get wire from? So we have wire as part of the telecom wire. We call it cable WD. So a very strong wire is available with us, which is used for the magneto telephones that we have. So you take a piece of straw or any such thing to tie below your sole of the shoe. But then with the heat and the melting of the snow, your feet will get wet. And if your feet get wet, they will have to get cut because they will get frostbite. So what do? So you put a piece of plastic there. Can you imagine all this has been done actually by my men? And I faced it as a quartermaster. And very rightly, Brigadier Khanna said, I will answer better. So I'm giving you, forget about specialized equipment. This equipment, which is available in lakhs across the Indian Army, was not available to me, was not provisioned to me there on demand. And I would have gone hoarse, begging, pleading, please issue me at least 100 sets. And I wish sometimes I had those pictures, and that is why, as I told you right in the beginning, I don't want to talk about Siachen because some of the memories really still make me cry. I have failed my troops that I could not give them a decent trouser to wear. What if you found your son like that or your brother like that? I could not give them a shoe to wear. My failing. I will not blame anybody above me. I couldn't get it. Beg, borrow, steal, I couldn't do it. And yet, these great men delivered what this country wanted.
Okay, and you have understood, even the normal clothing
So sir,
equipment.
so this situation of not being given all this material, did this last eve? So finally, when Channa landed there and said, "I've seen the enemy on your Yongla, and I want you to go up there." Even after that, no equipment was given. Even at that point, they said, "Go up with whatever you have."
No, we were already halfway up. You know, in all these glaciers, we were already halfway up. At about 15,000 or so, we were already there. It was a question of another 3,000 feet.
So when
Now,
when
as far as the
Channa
geog
when Channa saw the enemy and landed near you and said that I've seen the enemy, at that point in time, you were at what height?
uh, I had come to the battalion headquarters, which was next to the base camp, and uh, otherwise my location was somewhere at about 13, 14,000. So I used to stay with one of the patrols there, and I used to
So,
visit all the other patrols
so even when you were sent up to
regularly.
go and then finally secure Yongla, no additional equipment came. जो था जैसा था वैसे ही you were told to go up.
Yes, yes, yes. We we secured Gyeongla without any additional equipment, without any assistance. The only assistance which came was we got a helicopter load of food supply uh, at the base of Gyeongla.
Yes,
So
you
that
can.
was the only thing. And once the enemy started firing onto us, then they were a little more liberal. They gave me some men from another battalion to, to come and help us take our loads up. But that was again very, very limited. In fact, I was very
So,
grateful
so
to the enemy
how,
that he
how
had
many?
opened up
Sorry.
on us. And uh, because of that, we started getting something better. But again, these equipments, etc., still were lacking.
So how many days
Normal
was it
equipment was
from?
lacking.
Sorry, sir. How many days was it from when Channa told you about sighting those enemies and you reaching that position? How many days did it take?
You see, basically, Channa met me on the 19th of May, because these
Yes.
dates are very clear in my mind. 19th of May, he he landed in the battalion headquarters. He says, "I've seen the enemy, and on the ridge line, please do something about it." Uh, I said, "Okay, you have a Hapter here. Just give me for 15 minutes. The pilot will, you know." And this was just uh, in line with our cap. He'll just go up and show me where the enemy is,
Correct.
because we not still did not know where Gyeongla Pass was, because Gyeongla Pass, according to Channa, he was giving the direction connecting Gyeongla Glacier with Tumik Glacier. So we were most of the time banging our head against that, and it was all vertical climbs, and we couldn't go through. And I have expanded myself to the west of Zingrulma also. That area was just below the later discovered Gyeongla Pass. So he had told me that the enemy is there. So he said, "No, no, no, I'm in a hurry to get back. I'll send you the helicopter tomorrow morning." And that tomorrow morning never came. Then it was on uh, 22nd May, he again came and landed at my battalion headquarters on top, tech headquarters, I can call it, tech headquarters on top. Because where the CO is, it is called the technical headquarters. Where the adjutant is, it's called the battalion headquarters. So at my tech headquarters, he landed, and unfortunately I was not there. I was also out on a patrol doing a reconnaissance, and he told the JCO that I've seen the enemy again. Just go and climb up. JCO is a junior commissioned officer below the officer's rank, and when I came back, then he said the JCO told me कि साहब ऐसे ऐसे brigade commander साहब बता के गए हैं और क्या करना है. So I again tried to find out where Gyongla is, where that pass is. Even that JCO was not explained where that pass is. So I told my men, okay, everybody, start walking in the open, well spread out. It's a daylight, and let's see what happens. My aim was to draw the enemy fire just to get to know his location, the enemy's location. And I knew in my heart of hearts that even if the men are walking, they can't shoot straight because at high altitude, unless your weapons are zeroed at every 2,000 feet, they will not fire well. You will always go above the target. So they spread out, and luckily we drew fire. And that was my happiest day. I got to know where the enemy is. Channa got to know where the enemy is, and we are in contact with the enemy. And next day onwards, the supplies started coming. Now I'm talking of 22nd of May. 22nd of May, we got to know. I had an officer with me.
So how long, what's
Bhuiya.
the duration it took you to reach from where you were to where they opened fire? I just want to know the time.
Oh, that was about 1 hour climb. 1 hour on the plateau.
Okay.
You see, I can explain like this. This is Gyongla. It goes to Chubik
Yes.
on the Pakistani side where you are sitting. Here you turn left. Zingrulma is here. Zingrulma, which we could climb, which was the shortest way, and flat area here, and then the ridgeline continues. And I've given a photograph of that ridgeline where Gyongla is in my book also. So I called Anant Bhuiya. That was in the evening at about 5 o'clock or so, 5, 6 o'clock. I said, get your men, one section, I just require 10 men, and you know where the enemy is now. That is the enemy. And I don't want you to go to the enemy. No, because you will get killed. So there is a slightly higher peak this side of it, slightly away from the enemy. I said, you go and plant the national flag there. So I gave him the national flag. Those 10 men with him, I got a photograph of them with me and Bhuiya, Lieutenant Bhuiya, and those 10 men standing there. So I showed them that on the ground. I said, you start climbing up. At night, I want you to keep moving, and by morning, I want the flag up. Bhuiya said, sir, will be done. He was the youngest officer in the battalion that time. He had just joined me about 3 months before that, in December. And I said, leave your baggage, leave everything heavy behind, just carry your weapons and your personal clothing, go. So they went, and under a JCO, I packed up another 20 men who will start going next morning onwards and go and supply him and to give their baggage there. So that was my strategy, and Bhuiya's determination and the men's spirit of nationalism. With the national flag in the hand, they climbed up. In the morning at 7 o'clock, I got a call, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and we have planted the flag. So we were not on Gyongla Pass as such, we were dominating in a way Gyongla. So that was to be my firm base, and the rest of the things will follow again.
Now here, just let me clarify this part, Kabir, for your team. When Brigadier Khanna says that Brigadier Channa had seen the enemy, and then, when you come on ground, you can't locate it. I want to elaborate this. You see, what happens is when you are in a chopper up in the air, you require to be an experienced pilot to retain your sense of orientation. And today, when I was a brigade commander 13 years back, I used to spend up to 2 hours on Google Earth orienting myself for the flight tomorrow. And soon, therefore, the entire Northern Command pilots knew that this commander, he knows the ground from the air. Normally, infantry commanders know the ground from the ground perspective. We are totally lost when we go up because the perspective changes. And in 1984, Google Earth ka G bhi nahi tha. So I don't blame the commanders to get disoriented because you have to do continuous map reading. A small helicopter will just turn 90 degrees and you will not realize, and the entire view changes. So this disorientation is something I have thereafter stressed on to all senior commanders to be properly trained to address. And it is common even now, unless you have really gone about training yourself to the perspective that you are going to see, from the altitude that you're going to see, from the angle of approach that you're going to see. All of this is possible on Google Earth paid version. Thank you.
So just another follow-up question on this. Knowing that the enemy at Yongla can potentially hinder the entire mission, why did he not immediately like either send you up in the chopper to locate that position or send you back the chopper? What can be the justification for that?
That you ask him.
But from in your point of view,
I wish
one thing is
he had given me the helicopter on the 19th, and we would have been there 2 days before, and maybe we wouldn't have given him the time to ferment. And
that's precisely my point. So I'm saying, not giving you equipment and all, we can look down upon being, short-sighted and not thinking that maybe, UNIS will not do anything. So why do we have to give them these scarce resources? But I'm saying when he has himself seen that there is enemy at a point which can actually endanger the entire operation, even in that time, why would you waste 3 days and not give you a chopper? A chopper is very scarce.
He always used to be in a hurry to get back. I don't know why. You see, otherwise he could have waited for me. I came after about half an hour, 45 minutes of his leaving. He could have waited for me and we could have had a discussion and better results may have followed. I wouldn't say they would have followed, but could be, he would have understood my perception and I would have understood his perception. We never met.
I'm sorry to say this, but why I keep questioning is that because in my mind I'm building characters, right? When whatever I hear, I'm building characters. So I'm trying to always counter question Channa because in my mind, when I'm building a character, I'm sorry to say Channa is coming out to be an idiot. So, but I don't know whether I want to, portray the brigade commander as an idiot. I want to keep seeing a counterpoint. Is that in his mind, how are they justifying these really idiotic decisions one after another?
I don't want to use the word you have used.
No, of course, sir. I'm just saying, in my mind, the character seeming very, almost like an improbable character. Like, why would somebody be so short-sighted?
Yes, he was, I would say. And if nothing else, he could have sent the JCO up there.
Yes.
Even if I'm not there, कि साहब दुश्मन है उधर, ये लो, फिर बैठो और जाके देख के आ जाओ, ताकि आप सीओ साहब को बता सको. That may have been another answer. There are so many solutions to a problem. We found the best solution that having told the JCO, he went off. And most of the day was still available. That is why I was able to send the people on the ground, spread out. And I told them, normally we used to wear our coat parkas with white layer outside and green inside. So I told everybody, change your coat parkas with the green outside and white inside, so that you are very prominently visible in the snow.
You're baiting them.
We were baiting them. and they got baited. That's how I got to know where they were and where Yongla was. That is the first time on 22nd May I got to know where Yongla was and what was being talked about when we always talked about the Yongla. It was not connecting Chumek, it was connecting away from Chumek, another glacier on the other side.
So, one question: do you think if you had saved those 3 days, if you had gone 3 days earlier, could it have led to a different fate for the 18 men who got swept away in the avalanche?
Uh, that that is a different story because that uh, yes, maybe yes.
Because by then
Because had we occupied that,
enemy would not have been so consolidated. Because I'm sure in 3 days, 3 days
yeah,
is a
enemy
long
would
time
not have
for
been
the.
consolidated, and we would have been pushed them out from there, from that side only. Which again, my final plan was that only, to push him from the place where we have already got a foothold and start moving towards him and start pushing him out from there. And finally, that is the plan which succeeded.
So, sir, after Bhuiyan was established on that height, overlooking, let's say, the Pakistani position, what was the next stage and how did you proceed?
Yeah,
there?
you see, then I was told straight away that, okay, now you send a
Is it just
Network.
Kiki sir, if you could switch off your video, then we'll be able to hear the audio maybe. Right now the audio and video both are paused.
So going back again, can you hear me now, all of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Okay. So on the 23rd, we were on this place, dominating from the south, Gyeongla. And now I receive a message on the 24th or 23rd evening, send a patrol on the other side of Gyeongla also, on the height north of Gyeongla. So I gave him my appreciation and I put it down in writing, which is in the book, transcribed from my diary, that it is a futile thing. That height is not climbable by my men with the equipment I have, and we will suffer casualties. And what I would like to do is reinforce where Anant Bhuiyan has already gone, reinforce him and try and squeeze the enemy from that side. Wherever we have a stronghold, we must make use of it rather than open another flank, which in my perception and knowing my troops and knowing my this thing, was not a viable solution. So 23rd, I was told, 23rd, 24th, I was told to climb that. And I refused. Next day, again, it kept happening. Finally, on 28th morning, my intelligence officer, all the messages on wireless set and telephone used to come to the intelligence officer who used to put it up to me and show me. Obviously, he was also having a look at it. He said, sir, Punir was his name. He said, sir, for the last 4 days, you have been telling the commander and he's not listening to you. I am a volunteer to go. Let me go. I will take a patrol and please let me go. 27th, he told me that. So I said, no, we discussed it on the ground. I said, it is a difficult thing and you won't achieve anything. Even from that top there, you will not be able to dominate. You will again have to come down to be able to dominate the enemy from there.
So just to understand, what would be the difference between the position that Bhunya was holding and the position that the commando was telling to do? I mean, because Bhunya was also dominating the position that the enemy had held.
From the south.
Bhuya was on the southern side of Gyongla Pass. Gyongla
Okay.
Pass, the enemy was there. So
Okay.
he was on the southern side.
So he could
And
see the approach.
No. He could see the other side. But,
He
you
could.
know, you can't see the
Okay, so I have seen that area.
mountains.
Khanna sir, let me take this on because I have seen and I have taken over within few days, less than a week from Bhuya, 3 days I think, and then captured the further ahead post. So on this issue, if you spotlight me, you'll be able to see my hands better.
Yes.
If you are on a ridge like this, with India towards my chest and Pakistan towards my fingers,
Yes.
and the Indian land is this side, Paki land is this side. This was the orientation there. And Bhuya's post was here where my thumbs are.
Okay.
So now let me turn it like this. Bhuya's post is where my thumbs are. Bhuya's post is not higher than the Paki's this side. It is somewhat the same height. It's not lower either.
Yeah.
There is a bump here ahead, which is higher. So Bhuya's post really cannot be seen. This bump was occupied by the Pakistani Commando Asgar force only by day later. And they had a main post over here. So we are India on my side of my hand, Pakistan on this side, and Brigadier Khanna on my side is sitting here at the plateau area. And there was another spur going up to 5965. Now from Bhuya's post, which when I took over Bhuya, there's a human interest story which I won't cover right now of how I rescued him from death when he fell down over the false crest and got buried in the snow and disappeared. So from here, the important part was this higher height. The Pakis had reached till here, which was their night stay place on the ridgeline at 21,000+ feet. And they would come by day and see and stay here at that stage after 3 days when I had, or 10 days, a week, whatever. And then I had to go there, and we'll come to that story later, how I captured this place where the Pakis used to be there by day and withdraw and come back again next morning. So this is overlooking the Pakistani movement here. But the Pakistani movement to come here is from this side, so you cannot see that induction route. But you can see, which I did see later when I shot their officer, Captain Nabil Khan. The Puma comes through the valley, this side. The Pakistani chopper is called a Puma. That comes to rescue the Pakistani officer somewhere here or below here, we cannot see. But when the Puma is flying in the valley, I was sitting here after having captured it, I could see it. So the answer to your question, whether Bhuya could see, Bhuya, which means 0.5705, whether it could see the Pakistani induction route, the answer is aerial movement, yes. Physical ground movement, no, because this route was somewhere like this that we couldn't see it.
In the same context, which peak was in the same position? Where was Lieutenant Pundhir trying to volunteer?
Okay, so back here, now the main Siachen glacier is here, 76 kilometers. Its snout is here at this place. And from here, we have curved into the G3, the Gyongla Glacier. And when the CO is here, and I am further ahead there, from the CO, they had to move a full night and come up from a side to climb, and nobody did that till Bhuya. From the CO, there was a straight climb up, and that photograph is there in the book, which was 0.5965, where Sudhansh Verma later went and where Pundir was trying to go.
Okay.
Now, at this moment, no, this will come in later. Okay, just a little later when okay, you proceed, we will go chronologically. Yeah.
Very quickly, between 22nd and when 27th to 28th, when the next movement happened, was there contact, was there enemy fire happening on a regular basis, or had that stopped?
No,
Khanna sir,
fire was happening. Fire
Fire.
was happening.
Okay.
And fire was being exchanged, and they were primarily firing onto us who were in the plateau, and our movement was restricted in that plateau from my area to the base of where Bhuya was.
okay, now let me add to this, just like I told you that from here, I could see the aerial movement and the plateau. It is actually a valley, a broad valley on their side. Similarly, from their place, they could see the wide valley on our side.
Okay.
And we were to move through this valley. So our movement was visible to them, though out of range. So they could bring on directed mortar and, if required, artillery fire. And they could bring on small arms fire. And I want to make an important distinction here, which will come up later when I talk of recovering a bullet when I did that minor surgery on Lance Naik Ram Meher Singh Yadav, now honorary captain retired. When I talk of small arms, please remember that today we are using 5.56 mm bullets. So Hindi में 5.5 millimeter, आधा centimeter. The 7.62 mm is pauna centimeter. I am just putting it for perspective. The bullets I was facing were PKT, which is 12.7 mm, and I had a bullet for about 30 years. The bullet that I took out, I couldn't give it to them, to Ram Meher, I gave it to him later. The sharpnel which used to hit once in a mile, it would be on the rock and not buried into the snow, I would pick it up. If you see a 12.7 mm bullet, and that time we had no 5.56, and compare it with a 7.62, it's almost double. And it's very bad psychological warfare. So I never showed this comparison to the men. But I was jolted as an officer that this is the bullet which is going to hit me. It is double, 7.62 mm to 12.7. And we euphemistically call it small arms. It is technically small arms. So Bhuya's post was also receiving sporadic fire. But more importantly, as Brigadier Khanna has brought out, the logistic support to Bhuya's post and further ahead later to my post when I captured and established it. After taking over from Bhuya, then I spent 2 nights there, and third night or fourth night or a week later, I don't remember, I attacked and I got that forward post. The logistic support to both of us, and I was maybe about 300 meters ahead of Bhuya's post, 350 maybe. The logistic support was interdicted by the Pakistani fire, and the summary is therefore as what Brigadier Khanna says: no day movement was possible. You had to only move at night, and now add the crevice, etc. danger. That's it.
And as far as your question of 5-9, where Punir was to go,
Yes.
from there also, because of the convex slopes,
Yes.
convex slope of the mountain, you
Yes.
could not have a look down on even to the
Okay.
Yongla Pass.
To the approach, yeah.
So, you had to go forward and to the side to go and have a look.
So you were saying that then he came to you and he said that he'll volunteer to go on.
On the 27th, he came to me and he volunteered to go up. I said, no, nothing doing. And I've been telling Brigadier Channa every day, no, this is my plan and this is how I would like to carry it on. So on the 27th morning, he told me that I was thinking the whole day. Next morning, I said, he's a youngster and he wants to go. Why should I stop him? It's at the most he'll come back, if he can't reach. And this never crossed my mind that he might come under an avalanche. And he was the one who had done a study of effects of mountain warfare and the precautions to be taken there, and given a lecture to the battalion before we left crew. You would remember that. So I said, he is the most qualified person. And next morning, I told them on the 28th morning, okay, you select your team, uh, and they must all be volunteers, knowing that it is not a safe journey where you are going, and you may not come back. So volunteers were selected. I spoke to them and wished them all the best. And 28th evening, they started climbing towards what you call 5-9, whatever the point is. And next morning at about 4 o'clock, I was trying to contact Pundir. He was not coming up on the air. And at about 5:36, somebody, we had another post in between, 5-6 something, that Sudhash Point. Would you
Yes,
remember
sir. Yes,
Ah.
yes.
So between me and Anant Bhuiya, there was another small hillock on which we had another post. Somebody from there saw all this schmozzle with sleeping bags lying on the surface of the snow. And they had heard the avalanche at night, and they didn't even bother what had happened. So I was told this has happened, that some sleeping bags have been seen. By about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, I realized that most probably our patrol has come under the avalanche. So I gave a ring to emergency message to Brigadier Channa. This is what has happened, likelihood, and I require a helicopter straight away to evacuate and to see if there is any. Within 15 minutes, the helicopter came. So, that was a fantastic thing done by them. Within no time, the helicopter came. I sat out of the helicopter and I told the helicopter to keep hovering to identify a place where they could drop me. And midway to that height, slightly above the midway, where I could see the highest sleeping bag or equipment lying around, I told them to drop me there. And from there, I started walking, looking at the ground, and another party from below and from Sudhash's post, that middle post, that has also started. And we were trying to look for survivors that day and subsequent days. Of course, the story is that we did not find any survivors. We found a couple of dead people. A hand coming out or a finger coming out. So they were retrieved from there and brought down to my location at about 14,000. So that was what happened. Till late night, we kept searching. Next morning, we kept searching. And with the dead bodies in our camp, nobody could sleep that night. And for a number of nights thereafter, because every night we used to have 1 or 2 dead bodies there. And every morning we used to go up searching and bring a couple of bodies down by the evening. So this was the story from 29th morning onwards. And as luck would have it, at 7 o'clock, when I was trying to comprehend what has happened on my side, I got a message from another patrol that one of our havaldars had gone in the glacier, gone in a crevice. He had fell down in a crevice. That was on a post, we used to call it a Balji post in Liogma Glacier, one of those 2 glaciers in the south. The glacier next to Jingrulma. So that chap had gone down and they wanted assistance. I again gave a call and we got a helicopter. By the time that person was retrieved from the glacier, he had gone down about 30 feet.
Yes.
So he was pulled up and without any equipment, proper equipment, with makeshift ropes and whatever we could get, he was pulled up. And by the time he could reach the medical base, that is at the base camp, he had already expired.
Now
So
here I
these,
would, so,
that one casualty and 18 casualties of the police
Of the
patrol, one officer and 17 men in police patrol, all these 18 men died on the same morning, 29th May morning. That is still, on 29th May, I pray for them and still, can't comprehend how we lost all those people and those being the only major casualties what we suffered.
so police unit. Just one
Yeah,
question
just,
of the
just
when the
before you come to this, Kabir, I want to flesh out this crevice rescue because I have done some of this in my life. When you see a crevice, the normal instinct is to wet your pants. When you look down a crevice, looking down a crevice from the safety of being tied with a rope to 3 other people in full kit is an act of bravery. When you fall into the crevice, realizing that you have fallen calls for death by psychological pressure. My tribute to this man who did not die. My bigger tribute to the men who volunteered to save him and to the man who went down to get him up. You have to see it to believe. The ice is blue. You do not know whether the crevice is 30 feet or 200 feet. And you know for sure that if you are going down, you will go down with that chaps. The odds are high on that. And to pull out another man with you, a man whose act of bravery is that he is still alive despite that intense pressure of having fallen in. And this man was alive. And the man is pulled out. He is alive. And then he is pushed into a chopper. Kudos to the pilots to have reached there. And he's pushed into a chopper. He is alive. And the chopper takes off. Imagine the relief of the rescue team. We are all praying to Kalika Mata कि हमने जान बचा दी इसकी जान बच गई. And when the chopper lands, I was told later it was about a 6-minute flight. The man is dead. We all weep when we hear this there. You have no words because you can experience it. Those of us who've gone through it, that's why I described to you what is a crevice. It's an act of bravery to look into one. And to fall into one and be alive at the end of it is an act of bravery. Then to somebody to go down and pull you up, much levels above that. For you to get out alive, otherwise we would be pulling out a body. You come out alive, another higher level. Chopper there, pushed into the chopper alive. Chopper lands, you passed on. So when you portray this, this angst, that's why I'm spending this time. It will
and
take this.
The opening of the crevice is usually covered by snow, so you don't see the crack.
Not always, but mostly. What happens is, whenever there is snow, and 4 or 5 feet of snow is normal in these areas. So with the snow, there is overhang from the edges.
Yes.
And when the overhang and the more snow, for your visual thing, it's pristine, white, beautiful, romantic Gulmarg. Only the next step that you take, if your eye sex has not prodded it to find that there is a gap and not prodded it deeply, that overhang bridge of snow will not take your weight. and in you go.
And then once you go in, because it's basically walls of ice, you keep slowly slipping down.
Not slowly.
Okay, it's like in one shot you would go down to 30, or then
To wherever, till your body reflexes make you spread your hands and legs and thereby
lodge yourself.
if the walls are narrow enough and you stop at some place, or there is a ledge on which you scud and break the speed of your fall, etc.
Yeah,
I'm
visually
sure
this
you'll
will
get
be
a
a
lot
very,
of videos on YouTube
yes.
on crevice rescue,
Crevice.
which will help you actually film this part of it for yourself.
Just one question on the avalanche which Pundir and his men faced. This happened at night.
This happened at night, yes.
So this would be when they would have pitched tent and this would be their night position, or would it be at a
Yes,
time
yes.
when they were walking and patrolling?
Yes.
They would be
Yes.
in their tents. So
Yeah.
Now let me add
they
here.
should be in the tent at this thing.
Sorry, sir, say again, please.
Yeah, they would be in the tents.
Now let me add here. In these areas, you are in a bowl surrounded or 270 degrees with high mountains, and avalanches are happening dime a dozen per day. When I was attempting the world record from Comet, you would just look up, Acha, where is it? Oh, it's going to affect me tomorrow. I'll look into it. Because there are so many of them happening. And there is a roaring sound. The closest analogy I can give you is something like a waterfall.
yeah.
So if you hear a waterfall for about 10 seconds, that is the roar of the 100 tons of initially snow and then maybe ice coming down. When snow comes down, it comes down as powder and moves very fast. The ice comes down as blocks.
Yes.
And the snow moves faster. And the sound is of a roar, which could last 10 seconds or more. So you look up, oh, there, okay, fine. So you hear some of these at night. So Brigadier Khanna is very right. And I do not blame anybody for not paying attention to one of those roars at night, the one which engulfed, unfortunately, our comrades. Next, please.
So after these casualties, the Pakistanis were still sitting there. What was the next thing that was taken? And also, please take us through that. How did you motivate your men hereafter to, still go and achieve the objective?
Yeah. So let's continue with that. And that was the longest day for me.
Yeah, Gori has a question in between. Sir, so let's...
Just before you start, so while your rescue operation is happening, what is the Pakistani reaction to it? Are they waiting for you to take care of it, or is there still action going on their side and they look at it as an opportunity? What are the norms to be followed? Are there any?
Yeah, in this particular case, Pakistanis won't even know of it till, I suppose, many days later, because as far as we are concerned, this route which was selected to go on to that 59 point was 5965 is defilated to the Pakistanis' visibility, and even the sound will not travel across the Saltoro range. So this they wouldn't have even known, and much later they would have got to know about it. So there was no reaction to that. But the reaction was from the commander. He gave me orders to withdraw Bhuiya immediately, because they all got shaken up. Withdraw Bhuiya immediately, and only 5, 6, that middle section was to be held. Otherwise, Bhuiya's place to be withdrawn. So before my adjutant could pass the orders, I put my foot down. I said, no withdrawal will take place unless I personally order anybody. After 2 days, that is the time when the div commander was all div commander and the brigade and the sector commander, they both came to my post, and that is the time I said we are not withdrawing, because once we withdraw, we will not be able to recapture it again. And
Who came to your post, sir? Who came to your post?
the GOC from Leh and the sector commander.
So
That is
Channa and whom?
no,
Channa
GOC at he was the station by that time. GOC was General Sharma.
Sharma
I
and
think it was General Shiv K. Sharma. I'm not sure though.
Shiv K. Sharma.
and Channa also.
And Brigadier Channa was the sector
Both of
commander.
them came. So they both came to my location, and then I told them we will not withdraw from here, because once we withdraw, we will not be able to deoccupy it again. That is one. And my old plan, which I've been saying, that we should reinforce that post, and from there we should squeeze in the enemy and capture him from the south. Yongla Pass from the south. And finally, that was done. So this was the situation on 30th, 1st, 2nd June, around that time, 31st May, 1st, 2nd June. So luckily, the orders were not conveyed to the platoon commander to withdraw. Otherwise, Gyongla wouldn't have been with us, and the enemy would have been firing onto our, what you call, base camp. Any other question? Yeah, you asked me something. Tanmay, you were asking something?
I mean, one was the impact of what it had on your men. I mean, how did you motivate them thereafter? An associated question with that is that, like, now we're moving into a position where the next stage was when Sanjay sir's team went ahead and actually captured the Pakistani posts. So,
yeah. So let me bring to the situation when Sanjay came up. As far as the men were concerned, there is a demoralization, but then all of us were together in that. So I used to go and meet everybody, at all places, and without talking, just give a smile, and I used to get a smile back, and that rapport was established. So although people at my post could not forget it for the next 15 days till the time the bodies were coming down and they were being evacuated down, because the bodies had to spend a night in our camp before they went down. So it could not be forgotten. There was a little bit of, downward feeling. But basically, when you are moving around along with them there, things start working better.
So there's a photograph, sir, of the cremation happening right there. When was the cremation done? How many days later was the cremation done?
That cremation is not done at the post. The photograph specifically is of a cremation which was done much later, in the month of July, I think.
So the bodies that were found from the avalanche, they were sent back home, or was their cremation done?
No. They were taken one by one and cremated at the base. Not even at the base, near Partapur.
Okay, let me answer this. Today you are used to the mortal remains of the gallant soldiers being got back to their hometowns for their last rites. Unfortunately, it has taken many thousand sacrifices for our benevolent babus and politicians to grant us this basic privilege. in all my time in service, the government rules did not allow us to send the, I don't want to call it a body, but there is in English language, what else do I say? The body back to the wife or the mother or the next of kin, as the legal word goes. And therefore they were all cremated in situ, which means in situation, at the nearest available place, preferably where you could obviously get a Panditji to come up, etc. And in the battalion headquarters, we have a Panditji or a priest of the relevant religion. So no bodies were sent back. Pundir himself, if I remember correctly, was discovered exactly 1 month later on the 29th of June. And his watch was working.
Yes. So the cremation would actually take place at the base of the glacier itself.
No, not in the base camp. You know, it was an isolated place somewhere in Khalsar.
And would the unit people come down for that?
Yeah, no.
No.
Nobody going back, but there were some people on the other side at the Turtok. They were the ones made responsible for these things. And you have met General Rajendra. He was one of them who was responsible for these things.
And
in fact, General Rajendra himself actually organized the funeral.
So the army would organize the wood and all that is required. They would
100%. 100%.
Because it's something which we've never seen before. So I just want to just understand how it happens. It's also when I saw that photograph, I was actually pretty surprised. I didn't realize that the bodies would not be sent back to families.
That is why I clarified what I did, because the normal concept today with your age group is it's a default situation that God forbid such a thing happens, the body will come back. But this has only happened after the Kargil war, etc. And earlier, we never had our bodies coming back to the next of kin. And on this issue where Brigadier Khanna spoke about, the question that was asked was how did he motivate people, etc. Let me flesh this out with the grassroots level situation. Remember, the CO is stratosphere in a battalion. The CO is also an expert in keeping touch with the grassroots. So this is what I, in my leadership webinars, call the eagle role. The capability to soar high and scan vast horizons. At the same time, maintain the capability to focus in the fields, spot a rat, zoom down, catch the rat. The macro and the micro. But now let me come to the specifics.
1 second. Kabir has just disconnected. We'll just get him back.
Oh, so this is being recorded in any case, this part. You want me to wait? I will, because this is critical to understand for the portrayal. This question of yours was very relevant. How do you motivate people?
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you something which you have not ever dreamt of, like you never dreamt that the bodies will come back, etc. So you want me to wait for Kabir? I have no problems.
Maybe just a few seconds.
Okay, sure. Yeah, can I help your webinar? We have 2 webinars off. My wife is conducting the other one. That's a daily kind of a thing.
And we want to check with him? What was the... Yes, Sumit.
No, because you're going to talk about how the soldiers are kept motivated. I have a related question to that then. When you were talking about the supplies and the boots and not even about the trousers, I also want to know then what do soldiers talk among themselves? How I mean, it's easier to say it's like a government office, but we are civilians. We are not standing at the border and trying to protect something. So
valid question. I will address it.
Yeah.
Have you watched the movie The Dirty Dozen? Sumit,
No.
there is a world famous top 250 in the IMDb, a movie called The Dirty Dozen. Have any of you watched it?
I've seen it, sir.
There you
Long
are.
back, long.
Okay, so Kabir is back. So I'll address your question. If I don't, Sumit, tell me, sir, you haven't answered this question. What do
Okay.
troops talk? It's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Because again, in your character building, this will come up.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does the CO motivate? I will answer this in 1-2 sentences on that part, which I have done for the CO. I will come on to how do I, as a young captain with 5 years of service, motivate. So what is the scene? Same ridgeline. Bhuya is here. I am 300 meters ahead, holding the higher peak, and the Pakistanis are here and they are wanting to counterattack me. This side is Pakistan. On my side of it is India. In the plateau in between is the TAC headquarters where the CO was there. And there is that 5965 height where Sudhansh Verma was there later. Now, how are we connected? When the CO said he goes around and meets people, he can only go to places where he can go. And I told you, nobody came to 5705 behind me or to me. Later, of course, the adjutant did come later. But who will come? You can't come. So how will you motivate? And radios, there is radio silence. And how will you motivate on a one-way radio? It's not like your mobile phone. The radio, one person only can speak at a time. So you have a system of saying over. Sumit, give me your update, over. Sumit will say, my update is ABC, over. Tanvi, your update. She'll give her update, over. So that means over is now the next person can talk. And we had radio silence, which meant radios are for emergencies because the enemy will hear them. So how do you motivate? We, our brave infantry telecom guys, they are normal men like Ram Meher, who was with me, our signalers. He carries on his back that cable WD with which we tied our boot RI. There's a drum of that. So as he is walking, that wire is being unrolled. Over all that terrain, with all that equipment, he's carrying a drum of wire. And that drum is about 200 meters. And when that drum finishes, his buddy on his back is carrying another drum. And then the third drum. Think of it. And this is how you lay a cable. Now when you've laid a cable, there is one cable. And there are 5 posts. So everybody is patched on with 2 wires onto the same line. Which means it's the Tower of Babel. Also, technically, it means that your signal strength is attenuated. The voice quality is reduced because the power is distributed amongst 5 sources of voice. In non-technical terms, attenuated means reduced. And there are 5 telephones. Topmost post, I am there. Behind me, Bhuya is there. Behind me, him, something is there. And then something, and then the telephone exchange. And what is the telephone exchange? A crossbar 15 line with jacks, and the guy is listening. So again, we have a drill that one person at a time to speak, etc. So it is over such tenuous communication that you motivate. And that is why I said dirty dozen. The simple motivation I told my men. There are a lot of things, we will cover them separately. You can note this as a question, because I talk of this when I talk to executive MBA students, how you can motivate in the business world. We had Kumaunis and a sprinkling of Ahirs with me, because I also was allowed by Brigadier Khanna to choose my death squad. And we were, myself and 8 men finally. There were to be 9, but there were 8, so we were 1 plus 8. When we captured this post, it was inevitable that the Pakis will capture it back. And we did not know that they are the para commandos, thank God. So I knew this and I told the men. And the men at that stage are trusting you like God. They will walk to their deaths willingly if you tell them, because they know you for the last 5 years. And being on Gori Chen and all, being in operations with them, they know you. So that personal rapport. But remember that for a human being, the sense of survival is the strongest possible instinct, paralleled only by the instinct of a mother to save the child, even in the animal world. The instinct of self-preservation. So what did I do? देखो, पीछे कदम नहीं रखना है, यहीं डटे रहेंगे. हमारी कुमाऊं रेजिमेंट ने रिजांगला में 18 नवंबर 1962 में 113 बंदे डटे रहे और 7,000 चीनियों को मार गिराया. 7,000, और खुद मर गए और पोस्ट हार गए. लेकिन पीछे कदम एक ने नहीं रखा. पीठ पे गोली एक के नहीं लगी, सीने पे गोलियां लगी हैं. जब मरे हैं और बर्फ में बॉडी को रिगर मोर्टिस, यू अंडरस्टैंड रिगर मोर्टिस, बॉडी जम जाती है, गोली ट्रिगर पे हाथ है, तो पीछे कदम रखा. द स्टार्ट ऑफ अ विड्रॉल, एवरीबडी विल गेट किल्ड, नोबडी विल लीव. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू लीव, आई एम रेडी टू डाई हियर, इट्स ओके, बट आई विल किल एज मेनी एज आई कैन बिफोर दैट. एंड इफ आई डाई एंड देन यू लीव, कुमाऊनीस, मेरा भूत तुम्हें जिंदगी भर सताएगा. You can laugh on it today, but I can tell you it is very powerful. Those of you who've been to Leh as tourists, please go to the shrine of our Sikh Jawan there. What Baba they call him, I forget it now. I've been there a couple of times.
Opi Baba.
Huh?
Opi Baba. Opi Baba is in...
Not Opi Baba. There is a young Sikh soldier whose shrine is made. A huge shrine now. I last visited it about 10 years ago. Bhoot satayega. And I look each chap in the eye, spend that 15 seconds, 8 guys, पीछे नहीं जाना है. हाँ सर, मर जाएंगे, पीछे नहीं जाएंगे सर. मैंने कहा देखो, टैक्टिकली भी फायदा है. वो ऊपर चढ़ रहा है जब हम यहाँ बैठे हैं, और अगर हम यहाँ से पीछे गए और वो चढ़ गया, तो हम नीचे भाग रहे होंगे, वो निशाना लेके मारेगा. यही मरने में फायदा है. और बेटा मरेंगे नहीं, हम 9 हैं, 2 मरेंगे, 3 मरेंगे, पोस्ट तो हमारी रहेगी. गांव में क्या खबर जाएगी, पलटन में क्या खबर जाएगी. This is the kind of a thing that you use to motivate. Number 1. Number 2, an ounce of practice is better than tons of theology. An ounce of practice is better than tons of theology. You practice what you preach. Never mind that I have been on my feet the whole day and the men have got periods of rest in between. And never mind that they are following orders. I am creating those orders because I only can see what's happening. People behind me and my CO, if I want advice, what will they tell me is based on what I see. So I am largely independent in my assessment. And my CO has rock solid support behind me to give me whatever I want in the time and space it is possible. Remember, there was no day movement. And yet at night, I will wear my socks, 2 layers, wear my shoes, wear my glove, mask I have given to the sentry, which I told you yesterday about. I will wear my goggles at night also and get out of my pup tent. That pup tent is just about enough for you. And I will do this twice a night. The process of dressing up to get out takes 20 minutes. This is how you motivate your men. And on one occasion when I thought something was happening, I had gone back to the previous post. And anyway, I will leave that incident out. It is not. The point is, you motivate people by leading from the front, by sharing the same danger and understanding where you have to share a disproportionate amount of the danger. The men do not care that you know until they know that you care. Please understand this. The men do not care that you know that I am so brilliant, I am so good. But the men, once they know that you care for them. For example, out of my 8 men, the whole soul duty of 2 men the whole sole duty during the whole day was to somehow 1/4 cook the rice, the dal, and if possible, there was he who wanted rotis. कि यार 4 roti बना दो इसके लिए in the whole day, because you have a stove and the tent will catch fire. So your motivation is you have spared these men, we will do the duties. You please cook for us. You take 12 hours to produce the food required to sustain us, because the stove will go, फिर पिन टूटेगी, फिर वही केबल WD के तार को घुमा के उसकी पिन से स्टोव को साफ करेंगे. It's a whole day's job. A whole day's job to cook food for 9 people, and food is rationed. My MMG guy who later got a Sena medal, then Lance Naik or Naik, later Havaldar, and later Subedar, Harsh Singh. His normal diet was 14 rotis. He could lift a 22 kg stone. He was like Hanuman. How do I tell him to eat 4 rotis when his diet is 14? But he says, sir, ho gaya. And you know कि इसका पेट नहीं भरा है. So you give him occasionally one, अरे यार हम लोग का हो जाएगा. नहीं नहीं sir, हो गया है. So these are the ways you motivate. And your question was, what was your question, Sumit, which I had said button?
No, so my question was when, let me put this way, that like as civilians we start complaining about, कि हम income tax दे रहे हैं, road की हालत ही है, and
yeah, your question was what do the men talk about?
Supplies.
Okay, so please understand that when I said lonely lies the head that wears the crown, the men are not lonely, and they gossip. There is grapevine. There is a lot happening on that 5 telephone judi hui line, which I will not come to know as a captain. अरे यार वहां तो ऐसा हो गया, वहां वैसा हो गया, सुना है सीओ साहब ने ऐसा बोला. There is a active grapevine. The good part is all of us understand it. All of us leaders, whether JCOs or officers, including the commanding officer, understand that you are like a goldfish in a fish bowl. If I think I can do something in my privacy and nobody will come to know, I'm stupid. I do not have a moment of privacy. So the good part is when you are honest with your job, when I am zeroing my own weapon, which I zeroed that sniper rifle, when I am shooting straight, when I am walking, which the CEO told you, he also used to come up in those practices in crew. When I share the same hardship in peace and I shed the same sweat in peace and I'm ready to share the same blood in war, they know तकलीफ है पर साहब हमारे संग है, देख लेंगे, बाकी काले का मैया देख लेंगे, बाकी बजरंग बली देख लेंगे. So this is the feeling. The negative part is that if you are shallow, if you are in a cozy coterie, and my favorite sentence used to be, शेर एक बार मरता है, गीदड़ हर रात जिस दिन निकलता है पेट्रोलिंग पे मरता है. In Kashmir in 1995, I was in Kupwara, and every night we never knew, I was the officiating CO, whether we will come back or not. So I used to always tell my men, पीर बाबा पे मत्था टेका, गायत्री मंत्र वहीं पर गाया, ओम भूर्भुवस्स्य, उसके बाद देख, शेर एक बार मरता है जिंदगी में, गीदड़ हर रात मरता है. इतनी ट्रेनिंग की है, अभी फायरिंग जीरोइंग करके आए ना, टिड्डे, that is pine cones. So I used to make them fire on pine cones, and I would fire myself. अगर दुश्मन हमसे अच्छा है तो I deserve to die. Fine. अच्छा ले आना दुश्मन पहले. Your men are ready to go then. So your question is very valid and very human interest. And the good part is the men can see through you. They are living day and night with you. Even when you go, there are no bogs there. When you go to ease yourself, somebody is keeping an eye on you, that you don't get shot, you don't get fall down. And remember, there's no water to wipe your ass. Yeah, sir. So you've gone off. Sir, you rejoin the meeting. You rejoin. Okay. Okay. I'm putting you on. Okay. So you want to leave now, and tomorrow you're not available. Okay. Day after?
Day after we can have a meeting again if you want.
Okay, so that we leave to that team for them, and that's fine, sir. And I hope your system gets okay. Right, sir.
So in any case, you can send me that recording. I will have a look at it.
Yes, sir. I'll send you the recording once they send it. I will. Right, sir.
Thank you.
Right, sir. Good night, sir. The team is also saying good night to you, sir.
Good night.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye, sir. Bye-bye, sir. So this is a very interesting human angle, and the beauty is, if you are good, they are doubly with you. If you are either character-wise or profession-wise, or there is some chink in you, then obviously you have to look behind your back. That's the answer. Have I answered your question, Sumit?
Yes.
Have
Yes.
I answered your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think once we are done with the whole, the story of the battle, we will get into the nitty-gritties of, the actual banter between two soldiers, what happens maybe.
So you see, we will be sending this recording to Brigadier Khanna. And as I said, the CO is on the stratosphere. A lot goes on. Like I said yesterday on record, the CO doesn't even remember or know about the MMG slipping off. Naturally, the company commander won't want to tell him कि ऐसा ऐसा हो गया था, वो recover हो गई तो हो गई. Thank good, all's well that ends well.
I'm sure there are soldiers who are great at mimicking, and they have pet names and they have nicknames for all the seniors.
Oh yes, they do.
And their jokes must be something else. So.
Oh yes, they had made a song in 1982 when we were going for Gori Chen. My colleague Samuel, Captain Samuel, is senior to me. He was married on 6th August. Actually, it was delayed by a day. 7th August, he got married finally, 1982. I was engaged on 26th June 1982. So when we were proceeding on the expedition from base camp till Camp 5, all our love letters used to be coming up from our respective wives or fiancés. And so sweet of these boys, he would come up in your tent. Sir, आपकी एक चिट्ठी बेस कैंप पे, सर कैंप 1 पे कोई, every camp takes a day. So बेस कैंप की चिट्ठी 5 दिन बाद मिलेगी. सर बेस कैंप पे आपकी एक चिट्ठी पहुंच गई है. सर आपकी एक पहुंच गई है. सर कैंप 1 पे आपकी 2 हैं, आपकी एक नहीं. He would give you the whole report. And once they would deliver the letter, very naughtily they would stand there. Then he would look up. You go away. You can't say it. So he'll give you a naughty smile and he would go away. Okay, now you're going to read the letter from, in my case, my fiance, my wife, present wife. It is so sweet. There are a lot of these things. And when you talk of nicknames, they came to know. So there was a guy, a signal man, Rameshwar Dayal Yadav. He retired as an honorary captain. At that time, he was a Sepoy. He was my radio operator. And he is the guy also who had once pulled me back in Siachen. It will come later, when I was declared dead because I was shot. I actually was shot. It was a near miss of the anti-tank missile which had exploded above me. And Providence, though I've been declared dead earlier and later, I've been shot up actually. But in this case, there was not a scratch on me. I was naked. I was with my sniper rifle, naked because I had to blend with the rocks at 21,000 feet, wearing only my underwear. And I had a mattress kapok with a khaki cloth. That mattress kapok comes with a bed cover, which is buttoned on, which is made of khaki cloth. So I was lying on that. And they thought I am dead. This boy, Rameshwar, crawled 6 feet under fire to pull me back. Can you imagine the amount of energy it will take at 21,000 plus feet to pull another human being over rocks, to pull my body back? And he passed ki saab to kritch. And then after some time, he must have tried his tricks with me, and I must have either opened my eyes or some gurgle sound must have come from my mouth. And he's saying, kuch to bolo with big eyes. I can't hear anything. I had passed out. I had got concussed. Smart boy. whips out his clipboard, old Fauji habit. You guys never have this thing. This is an old fashioned, oh, you can't see it. This is an old fashioned clipboard.
Yeah. I remember this.
So clipboard and pencil. Why pencil? Because pen will freeze at 21,000 feet. So pencil. He writes, Jinda ho, kuch bolo, kuch to bolo, and to is underlined. So I could see, and somewhere getting back to life, it made sense. So I must have said, something I must have done. He left me and immediately, घुमा रहा है 5 alpha phone. अबे जिंदा है, अबे जिंदा है, अबे जिंदा है. Then somebody said, गोली चेक करो, बहरा होगा, बंद करो खून. तो he says, अबे नंगे हैं, दिख रहा है कहीं गोली नहीं है, कोई खून नहीं है. You know, these are the ground level things which happen. Where do you talk of this? But that man knows. Because normally you're wearing so much of woolen clothing, like it happened with me in JNK when I was shot. Even I don't know I'm shot because I'm so busy protecting the other guy who was being shot. Until I cannot raise my hand, then I know I've taken a bullet in my hand, in my arm. In this case, I was only in my undies, so he could clearly see the khaki sheet has no blood. So he says, "Koi khoon nahi nikal raha hai. Abhe nange hain. Jinda hai, jinda hai." So these are the kinds of things which happen.
What
There
was
was
the
something
nickname?
else.
The nickname you.
Okay, now let me just show you. I'm sharing my screen. Just enable screen sharing, host, please.
Yes, doing that.
Okay, once you do it, tell me I'll share.
Done.
Okay, I can share
Done.
now.
You're telling us the song that this guy wrote for you when you were.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you that. So, this guy wrote a song. ढूंढेंगे भाई ढूंढेंगे, not temporary, permanent. ढूंढेंगे भाई ढूंढेंगे, not temporary, permanent ढूंढेंगे. Because they knew that this is what is happening. Okay, so what I'm showing you now, I will just quickly run through them, and all of these pictures is there in the book. So this is taken. If there is one which I have not taken, I will point out. What is important in this is what you see on the bottom. Can you see my pointer?
Yes.
So these are aircraft parts. This is aircraft registered number BM784, discovered by us during our march up, along with 2 bodies. This is Chinese no man land. Any of you Googled Gori Chen on the Google map?
Yes.
So you know where it is, bang on the border. And you can make out this is a high altitude, rock, desolate, not even a blade of grass. And the bodies must have been 15 years plus old, and therefore there was nothing left except on the thighs of our pilots. There was some flesh after 15 years of cold storage in this deep freeze, nature's deep freeze, which was, there is a particular kind of chicken, very crumbly chicken. And we had nothing to obviously burn because there's no wood. And we had so little fuel that we couldn't even eat, to the extent that I cut this aircraft tires, and we used to cook our 1/4 cooked rice, in this case, to be had with churpi. Churpi is yak cheese made from yak milk. We used to use aircraft tires. So I reported back, and then we buried these 2 bodies, 15-year-old bodies, by putting stones on top of them. So these are those aircraft parts. Today also, some of this, the undercarriage, is in 19 Kumaon Quarter Guard. Some wise gentleman painted it. Very sad. In his wisdom, he painted it. This is that same aircraft. And this is the 3 of us, me on the left. Next to me is Dalip Singh, now just retired, if I'm not wrong, as a colonel. And next to him is Captain A.D. Samuel, the same Samuel who was that we are talking about in Siachen. We are the three of us, and this is the broken part of the aircraft body. You can see one of the steel pipes within the aircraft is here. If this is not relevant, I can skip it. Don't be polite.
No, it's interesting, sir. Very interesting.
Interesting, yes. Irrelevant, yes, no.
No, not relevant for us, not in terms of that, but it gives us a flavor of the way things.
So, some of this wherever. So this is again all the aircraft parts and I'm posing there with it. This is just one of those, it's not actually the snout, and notice the whiteout behind it. Again, the aircraft parts, and notice the lake, the high altitude, light green lake. And we carried this piece back, the steel pipe which I had shown you, wearing carabiners and all in 1982, and yet this is on the peak. You can't see the photograph. This is Chandri Ballabh. This is the national flag. This is the ISACs with another regimental flag. By culture, we don't step on the peak as a mark of respect to the goddess which that peak represents. We touch it, offer our salutations, and I told my men we will not touch foot on the peak as a mark of respect to it. So he's touching the peak, praying, etc. These are our camps below. This is a clearer photograph of the peak. So I will skip. This is me climbing up. And this is with the then GOC. Leave this. This is a high altitude lake. Leave this. I want to show you now this. Can you read?
Yeah.
This is that certificate I was talking about yesterday. 77 days without a break during Op Meghdoot. So this is the kind of a thing that we are talking about. I was able to locate it in my photographs. And I said at a certain stage when there were too many, I was killing a lot of people, Pakistanis and all, that I said, I want to delete the whole thing. And there were a lot of gruesome stuff, which when you meditate, it comes back. So I wanted to grow out of it. And that is why I don't give interviews on Siachen or on any of my operational stuff. Okay, next question.
Now we've come to that part where, were you still at the base when Undhir and the avalanche happened? And at what point were you inducted at the forward base?
No, I had been inducted. You read the book, because this will amount to blowing their own trumpet.
Right.
I will only speak because of the part which is not in the book. My capture of the post is not in the book. And I had, in a way, refused to co-author the book. So it's all right.
Okay.
I mean,
we can proceed on to that part.
I will tell you the part of, okay, I'll come to you. If I don't, then may come back. Gori, what's your question?
So you said earlier that there was a point where you went back to a post and you said you hesitated.
Yeah, I won't talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that is part of motivation and avoiding a tragedy. And that is, ask Kabir, what does he do? What do you do with your maid at home? Don't you once in a while check whether the utensils have been cleaned properly? Ya jhadu poche mein koi galti hai? You don't tell her every time. You don't get after her blood. But in pre-corona days when maids were coming, once in a while you'd say, देखो यहाँ पर ये अच्छे से कर दो. Meaning कि तुमने अच्छे से नहीं किया है. You would do everyone has a system of checks and balances. So that going back to the previous post was part of that, and it worked very well. Now coming to Tanmay's question. What was your question, Tanmay?
So just going back to one of the things that you were mentioning about the photograph, that you had taken photographs of some of the dead Pakistani soldiers. What would be the protocol of those bodies being taken back?
I have myself gone and delivered them to the Pakistani brigade commander in Op Kirni. I think it was August or September 1991. I don't want to remember those details. But I have myself gone, and that Paki brigade commander, the best compliment one can get, I have got it every time I have met the Pakis when I have gone for these. I have gone for 5 flag meetings with the Pakistani commander along with my commander. But to deliver their dead, I had gone alone with my men. And let me just share one thing with you on this. This is not related to Siachen. This incident that I'm talking about is around August, September 1991. It is called Op Kirni. It is there on the web. It relates to the general area of Poonch, which is ahead of Rajouri, which is south of the Pir Panjal range. Just to put the Kashmir context proper. There was a post which The Pakis counterattacked repeatedly and we repelled it. We meaning the Indian Army. I was called in as an additional help from my battalion, was the neighboring battalion. This was happening in another battalion. And the brigade commander then, Brigadier Avnash Inder Singh Dhillon, and me still are friends. Because anybody who's been with you in operations, there's a lifelong bond, like you see with Kiki sir. I mean, we'll disagree on some things, but imagine, anyway. So, on this post, ultimately, we had to return the dead. And the Indian Army treats the enemy with this enemy dead with the same respect that it treats own dead. The Indian Army treats the enemy POWs, prisoners of war, including women, with the same respect that we treat our own. And what I have done is what moved this brigadier. And he said, Major, soldier to soldier, please don't film this. So I looked into his eyes, and soldier to soldier, I had to agree. It was such a shame for them. I had got, with the help of my brigade commander, of course, so it's not I, it's we. We had woken up the dealers, the cloth merchants in Punch, in the middle of the night, ordered than, safed kapde ki than, paid for it, got it. Got the tarkhan. Tarkhan is the Urdu word for carpenter. Kabir, am I right?
Yes.
तरखान रातों रात में किसी भी रेट पे लकड़ी लाओ, इनके लिए कॉफिन्स बनाओ. Got the Maulvis. I said, ये मालूम पड़ सकता है कि ये शिया है या सुन्नी है, नहीं तो तुम इनके जो हैं लास्ट राइट्स को जो the Muslim procedure, please follow it. And I said, you, those 4 Maulvis that I was able to lay my hands on, will accompany to ensure that inadvertently we do not disrespect the dead. Sometimes you say, na, the head should face Maghreb, that is where Makkah is. Sometimes all that, every religion has its own little things. So the Maulvi said, आप ये सब करेंगे? मैंने कहा करेंगे. कब इसकी कफन अभी बनेगी? मैंने कहा रातों रात बनेगी, अगले 4 घंटे में, जितने आदमी चाहिए लगा दो. और लट्ठा ले आए. लट्ठा is that cloth, so white cloth. What did the Pakistani brigadier come with? Brigadier, to get his own men back, stretchers that you carry in an ambulance on your shoulder. It's 2 bamboo things with a tarpaulin in between. We couldn't paint the coffins. They were pure untreated wood and they were smelling fresh, but they were coffins. There was white cloth. There were 4 Maulvis. And then when he said, stop it, ठीक है, stop कर दिया. I had told my guys कि बदमाशी करेंगे तो you are ready to fire. I had put men. I had taken all the precautions also. We will sort them out if they try any tricks. Then he says, Major, I am very impressed. Please do me another favor. Don't refuse this. So I'm looking at him. Tall guy, 6 feet tall. I'm only 5 feet 8 inches, 8.5 inches. He takes out money. So my look becomes a look of anger. So he says, please don't refuse. And what is he giving me? 1,500 rupees. Paki rupees. And he says, I'm sure you can get this changed. Now my mind is racing how to react. Think what could be a suitable reaction. These are the situations we face. So I immediately said, since you are so genuine, sir, I understand your helplessness, your embarrassment, and these troops will carry tales. And you dare not attack an Indian Army post in future. But I will sort out your conscience by accepting. He's happy. I said, therefore, I said, Maulvi log jo hai, aage bulao. These are the guys who are the 4 Maulvis, and these are the local people who have helped carry over the difficult terrain your bodies back. There were lots of bodies. Lots. ये नहीं था कि 5-10 थी, ज़्यादा थी. I said, give it to them. What I didn't say was, you idiot, you are giving 15,000 Pakistani rupees, which is less than 1,000 Indian rupees to be divided among so many. And he also didn't have the presence of mind. He should have immediately made it 15,000, which he didn't, which is very good for me. Because my Maulvi knows कि हमारे तो मेजर साहब ने सोच लिया, इनके तो ब्रिगेडियर की औकात नहीं है, साला हमको 1,500 पाकिस्तानी रुपए बराबर इंडिया के 1,000 रुपए दे दिए 20 लोगों में बांटने के लिए, 50 रुपए ईच. This is psychological warfare. And yes, I was a bastard that I didn't tell him कि sir, there are so many, you better give more. I could have told him, but why should I? These are the human interest things which come in over there when you're actually in operation face to face with your counterpart, and in this case, a major facing a brigadier. Okay, Kabir, you were asking a question.
No, I said, was there any situation of a body exchange in Siachen?
Impossible. There was no contact, no physical contact. When you come tomorrow, day after, to the part where I killed the guy and he tumbled down, he was 300 meters ahead of me. And that is why the second guy I killed, I'm not a trained sniper, I'm a self-trained guy. But in my happiness that I've killed one, my breathing changed. For the first time, I was using a sniper rifle, and with my first shot, I killed one. And being an inadequate soldier, my breathing pattern changed. And therefore, the second man, I could only injure but not kill. I hold it against myself till date. I could have trained myself better. Officially, I'm not a sniper. I'm not a trained sniper, but I'm a self-trained sniper. I could have trained myself better to be able to kill the second guy also. We'll come to that when we come to that part. And all this is something the CO doesn't know. Please understand also a philosophy of life that if you genuinely been into danger, you are so grateful that you're out alive, public accolade doesn't matter. मेहंदी लगाने वाले के हाथ खुद ब खुद लाल हो जाते हैं. The biggest accolade I could have got in life is what I used to tell my men when the ones who were very close to me, my sahayak, people who had been in war with me. Sir, आपका promotion नहीं हुआ. I said, so and so. मैडम का सिंदूर जिंदा है, इससे बड़ा प्रमोशन परमात्मा क्या देंगे? काले का मैया ने सब दे दिया. 3 बार सिंदूर उजाड़ने में था, तीनों बार सिंदूर बरकरार है. My wife displays the status of a married woman with a husband alive. Sir, बहुत अच्छी बात कही आपने. So it became anybody would ask me in close after 2 drinks, sir, एक बात पूछनी थी. सर आपका प्रमोशन सुन रहे हैं, the troops talk कि सर ये तो जनरल नहीं बने. So everybody quietly, because he doesn't want to embarrass you in public. सर क्या ये सच है, आप जनरल नहीं बने? हाँ सच है. I said, बीबी का सिंदूर जिंदा है, 3 बार declared dead हूँ. What bigger accolade can I get? So when you've been through it, public accolade recedes. Okay.
So I just I'm wondering that there's still that part of where you come into the picture and capturing.
So let Brigadier Khanna say it in his way, because he has a very sketchy picture and it's not covered in the book. So I want him to have the first right over covering that. And after that, you will ask me to fill up and I will. Okay. But I will show you no photos because I've destroyed them.
Okay. Arnav, you had something.
I just, in the vein that you were talking about earlier with the...
I have other photos. The one which is in the book, that I can show you. Sorry, Arnav, I can't restrain. Problem. Let me show you the original copy of that photo. Even if you don't want to see it, I want to show it to you. So can you see this on slide sorter view?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so just as an aside, when you say how do you motivate, I made my officers also cut the goat. So I will leave, and I said I will photograph it with the head still in the air and the body separate. And I had a competition with another guy that we both will photograph it. So that photograph is here. This is that photograph. This is called Balidan. This used to happen in Dashera time when you sacrifice goats. Can you see the photo?
Yes.
Yes.
The goat's head has been severed fully from the body. The kukri is across the body and the head has not touched the ground. So when we have to battle inoculate, my young officers, I have done a lot of hardening of our own urban softies. They are physically very tough, but the mind has to be made tough. Bheja fry kaise nikalta hai when you shoot a man in the brain. So this is the sanitized version which I can show you. Okay, now I want to show you the. So this is how I used to look those days. Again, not relevant to you, but again, my human feeling, how
Yeah.
I used to look in 1981. This is me. Okay.
Sir, how old were you?
How old was I in 1981? 21 years.
In
I was
84,
commissioned at 20 years. I was commissioned exactly when I was 20 years, 3 months.
and in 84 during Operation Meghdoot?
So I am February 59 born. So that means I was exactly 25 years. February 84. And this is how I used to look after Gori Chen. Because there one had no this thing. So that meditative look is back after. Even there I fell and they thought I would have conked off with a big boulder on my head. But God chose that I live. And I'm not showing all these. This is the three of us with the beards. And when I was going for Comet, from there I had to go for Mount Comet expedition after Gori Chen. My then CEO, anyway, leave that. So these are all the press reportings and I'll leave that. Yeah, this is the photo which is there, not there, and the next photo is there in the.
Bacterian camel.
Yeah, so this is the Panamic sulfur springs. I am the one who's bending down. The other guy commanded 5 Kumaon. He was part of 19 Kumaon. I've just met him when I went to conduct a seminar for Willem Boys School in Dehradun for 2 days. He settled in Dehradun, old man, 77 years old. This is the double humped camel. We were having it then, though it was not used for logistics, which is now in the news for us wanting to use it in the Depsang plains and DBO. This is that double humped camel. This picture is there from 1984. This is the picture in the book. Since I am the one taking the picture, obviously in all my unit pictures, I'm rarely there, which is fine with me. So we were having a thing at the Sulphur Springs. Later, there was a commander, Brigadier Nagyal, who did a very good job. I was invited and I didn't go because the CEO didn't want me to, etc. This is 1985 Everest expedition. And this is the guy who died in the Everest expedition. 2 of my friends died, him and Lieutenant Raghavan and Lieutenant Bakshi. But that is not relevant to you. Let's get back. Yes. Yes, Gauri.
I have a very civilian kind of a question, and it comes from you saying that you're a self-trained sniper. How does it work? Like, how do you, after having known that you killed somebody, what is, as a human being, what inside you changes that the increase in heartbeat that you say as कि नहीं हो पाया, दूसरा आदमी नहीं मार पाए क्योंकि कुछ अंदर चेंज हो गया. How does that
Breathing.
particularly?
I am not saying that change ho gaya from a psychology angle.
No. In the
I am
sense
saying
that,
it from a physiological angle.
yeah, that your steadiness was gone and that you know you were doing, but it is
See what happens when you breathe. I'm exaggerating it. This is what happens when you're breathing. I'm exaggerating the movement to show it. So when you're breathing, your chest is moving. And there is a way of controlling it to not move when you're just taking a shot. And that control slipped by 10%. And now regarding how do you feel? There is a movie called Phone Booth. And there's another movie called Sniper. And there is another movie called, I think, 2008. I don't remember the name. And I think there is a scene in Madras Cafe also, where they are showing the LTT fight. The feeling of killing in cold blood, because your victim does not know that he is going to die in the next 2 seconds. If you have a clean shot, a clean headshot. So the victim has a face of surprise, of puzzlement for that 1 second or 2 seconds it takes before the life is extinguished. And if you see that through your sniper scope, it is permanently embedded in your brain. In my case, very frankly, as he fell, within seconds, the guy behind came on the forward slope. See, a mountain is like this. This side I am firing from. So the enemy is on this side. Notice this side is steep. This side is not steep in this particular case. And the same was on my post. I was on very steep ground. And my forward slope, enemies facing slope, was better, easier to climb. I had no place to pitch even a pup tent. Same thing for the Pakis. But now this side is steep, so I can't attack. His side is comfortable. Now this man fell about 2 feet. He got a clean shot, died, fell. His buddy, tribute to the Pakistani commandos, his buddy stepped forward 2 steps, exposed himself fully to me to pull this guy back. And I've told you what pulling a man back at 21,000 feet. Somebody asks you to pull just now, you will not be able to pull. To lift a man and pull him back 5 feet up a 4 feet incline is not easy. Try it at 21,000 feet. And this Pakistani guy did it. And that is when, in the happiness that I have shot him, the first guy, killed him. I had a breathing thing and I was very composed. I was not gleeful and all. I aimed, I shot, but I couldn't kill. And the second guy was Captain Nabil Khan. How do we know? At that point of time, we didn't know. This story will come in tomorrow when you ask me. And this statement of mine, thankfully, is there in the book. But the major question of how 19 Kumaon established its credentials, even in Siachen. You've heard the background and Kabir has questioned us and Brigadier Khanna has responded on the problems and, credibility issues and all those. This incident was the single incident which proved beyond doubt that this battalion does not exaggerate. Forget about lying. At that stage, if I say that I can see 10 men, who can doubt me? There were no drones. There is no aerial surveillance. There is no satellite photography in 1984 that can zoom down to this level. So if I say I can see 15 men, who is going to doubt me? What I had reported, I'll just cover it in brief. We'll cover it tomorrow when you ask, how do you establish the credibility of the battalion? And after Brigadier Khanna says what he has to say, then I will chip in that part. Okay. Because I reported 1 casualty I don't know, I've hit this guy. 15-20 minutes later, through that 5 telephones in a line, everybody's told, telephone rakho, Aggie saab ko do. So Rameshwar Dayal must have said, huh? Because my first radio operator, Ram Meher Singh, he was shot, I had operated upon him, he had been evacuated. And my second operator was also Ahir. First one was Ram Meher Ahir, second one was Rameshwar Ahir. So Rameshwar says, batao. He said, nahi, Aggie saab ko do. So Aggie saab aa gaye line pe. I was known as Aggie. Agarwal to Aggie. So was my father, so is my son. The message conveyed from DIV, because we have our signal monitoring, and even in 1984 we had it. They caught Pakistani radio transmission. I told you, radio is only an emergency. This was an emergency for them. And our chaps caught it. What I had said was, to our chaps, 1 casualty. Report it up. The SIGINT, Signal Intelligence, says there are 2 casualties. 1 fatal and an officer is injured. And a Puma is coming to rescue him. Tell your officer to convert his MMG into ACAC role. That is anti-aircraft role. And Harsh Singh was my MMG operator. The guy who used to eat 14 chapatis. We could rarely provide them, but his diet was 14. So this is how we came to know. Even we, I had seen कि यार शक तो है, मारा तो है, पर कैसे बोल दें कि 2 है casualty? And I had told my men, विधवा बनानी है, झूठ बोल दो. I have earlier told you yesterday, when this was going on, my wife was in the family way. And our daughter was born in October 1984. Remember I told you yesterday that the letter was received, don't get your wife back, and we had just received the information that my wife had conceived and we were so happy, etc. And ultimately she could not come with me. So I said, विधवा बनानी है, झूठ बोल दे. सच बोलेगा, मरेंगे नहीं. मरेंगे, छाती में गोली रोक के मरेंगे, वो मंजूर है. झूठ मत बोलना है. Sorry, this is Kashmiri, it comes in between. झूठ नहीं बोलना है. In Kashmiri we say मत बोलना है. So if you don't tell lies, you are keeping yourself pavitra. There is a lot of spiritual energy around you. The forces of good are with you. And believe you me, they help. I cannot explain why I am alive. You follow the righteous path, help comes. Yeah, what were we on? Sorry, I deviate now. We are on to...
Sir, I have...
no, have I answered the previous query which triggered this trip down memory lane?
How do you feel after the kill?
Okay, so how do you feel after the kill? The psychological part I am leaving out because I have done lots and lots of meditation, 10.5 hours a day. I've been, 1972, I was initiated when I was in school into the Ramakrishna mission as a disciple. Then 2000, early 2000s, then 1980s onward, I started getting interested in Swami Chinmayanand ji. And when my parents would go, I would also go. And I met Swami Chinmayanand ji. He was alive. Now, the gentleman who's heading the Swamiji who's heading the global Chinmaya mission was a brahmachari. And once in a while, we would joke with him. Now he's the global head. So I've gone and met him also in his headquarters. Global headquarters is near Yol, near Dharamshala in Himachal, at a place called Siddhabadi. So I was involved with them. Then I got involved with Sri Ravi Shankar. I have tasted all the waters from everywhere. I have done all their courses, basic course, advanced course. Met Sri Ravi Shankar number of times. I have told him that you don't answer my questions on a number of issues. I find you superficial. Maybe it is my ignorance that I cannot understand what you're saying. And he didn't like it one bit. We met at Indu Jain's house, who's the owner of the Bennett and Coleman India, Times of India Economic Times. Vineet Jain and his mother Indu Jain, that family. Their house is 4 Tilak Marg in Delhi. I met, one of the times I met Sri Ravi Shankar was there. So I've been into that. And there were a lot of unanswered questions in my mind. So in 2005, I went into Vipassana. After taking a 2005, I went into it, but I took a sabbatical for 2 years. And my question was, why do I have the thoughts I have? Some of my thoughts are below the level of thoughts that a human avatar should have. It's a human form that my soul has taken. In a human form, I'm an evolved being. Why am I having these base thoughts? This was my question for the last 15 years, which none of these people could answer. So I took a 2-year sabbatical and it was answered by Vipassana. Then I started doing 10.5 hours in camps, and I still do it, a 12-day camp. And so that is the spiritual part. And now it was proved to me, and it does not affect my conscience. Only like today, since I've spoken to you, for next 2 nights I will be disturbed. I will have to do extra meditation to stabilize myself. And therefore I don't talk, and I've deleted the photos. The professional response to killing a man, all my hard work, jitne ghutne mein kyoni mein khoon aur kandhe mein lali, paid off. Then hurt, why didn't I put 20 more drops of sweat to train myself for a second kill? I never imagined I'll get a second kill within a minute. Within 30 seconds. If it comes after 5 minutes, I'm okay. But I was not mentally trained. I was so happy that I've killed one. This is what is happening to you. And possibly your face also, because inside your everything, you're so happy. So that is the reaction. Next question.
Sir, there are two, I think, the human interest scenes that's what I wanted to ask you about. One is that in the unit Mandir, that I think in the book also mentions that Kumaonis are quite religious. You also mentioned that there's a Captain Samuel. So I just wanted to understand, people who are not from the same, how are they treating that? Because you have a unit Mandir.
Okay. Good question. It's an old answer repeated 1,000 times in the public media, but good news always doesn't spread, because as we say in the communication system, bad news is good copy. The Indian Army is the best example of secular thought and action. And it was the same General Chibbar that we were speaking about. He had started then in 1983, the fact that we call it the Sarva Dharma Sthal. The Sarva Dharma Sthal. And we have images from all the faiths there. And the officer's religion is the religion of the majority of the troops.
Okay.
And therefore, Captain Samuel, now Colonel Samuel retired, always attended happily all Mandir parades every Sunday. And he would have attended the mass either on Saturday or on Sunday evening in the church. And we have what is called the MMG, which does not in this case stand for medium machine guns. It stands for Mandir Masjid Gurdwara. And I have had so many times, including when I was abroad with an Indian contingent, that the Maulvi would take the Granthis part in the Gurdwara and vice versa. And the Panditji would take the Maulvi's part because he knew a smattering of Urdu better than the Granthi did. So we had all three, Mandir, Masjid, Gurdwara. When one of the priests went, if you have somebody very knowledgeable amongst your troops, that person can officiate. Otherwise, the priest of the neighboring religion officiates. It's as uncontroversial, as straightforward, as routine as that. Our men and our officers in the Rajput regiment, which have certain battalions have majority Muslim troops, they know the entire verses to be said when you read the Quran. And I have tested officers because there was an officer under me. I was in J&K. I said, Kalma Suno. Immediately went down, Suna diya pura. to another officer, a non-Muslim officer, I said, पांचों नमाज के बता दो, फजर से शुरू करके. Because I had issued a pamphlet. I said, you have to understand their culture. This was in Kashmir later. So the point is, religion is a non-issue in the Indian Army. Chinks have been attempted by the politicians even 15 years ago when they wanted a census of how many of which religion, and the army refused. If you remember, when we had casualties about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, one of the MLAs said, आपका वक्तव्य क्या है? अच्छा कौन कौन मरा है नाम तो बताइए तभी तो हम वक्तव्य देंगे. Meaning, which religion are they from? The Indian Army has no time for this divisive thought. The example I used to give was, and I give my blood repeatedly, though I'm well over 60, even now I donate blood. They check my parameters, and even this year I've donated blood because my colleague's mother-in-law, and he said, yaar koi nahi hai, can you come? तो ऐसे साला ड्राइव करके आना मना है because after donation I can't drive. कहता है यार life and death का सवाल है. So I drove down from Greater Noida and I donated and I drove back despite having dizziness. So I stopped in between for an hour. I telephoned my wife and all. I said, look, I'm going to leave the car and take an Uber from here because I don't want to crash en route because I'm getting giddy. So I had some more apple juice and all, and ultimately I reached home in my own car. You donate blood. You don't ever think of the religion of the other guy. And certain hardliners and fanatics will tell you, my religion does not allow me to donate my organ. We routinely donate organs. And when I say we mean, I mean the entire Indian Army, which comprises of all religions. So religion is not a divisive factor, but inroads have been strongly attempted by various fanatics to polarize our troops. Reason is this. Right from the 1950s, they tried to break India. Whether it was America, whether it was China, whether it was Pakistan, whether it was Lord Macaulay, those of you who studied Indian pre-independence history, or those of you, the Desi acolytes of Lord Macaulay, which were more dangerous. When after 1962 and 71 and 1999, they could not break India, there has been a concerted move to implode India, break it from within. And this movement started in 1954 with the communists getting a handle over Nehru. This is again a deviant thing. I speak on this once in a while, so I'll cut it out. The fact is that it is so dangerous. You divided this country, polarized this country, fragmented. You have exaggerated the fault lines, extenuated the fault lines. Please leave the army out of it. It's the last pillar. You've had the vice president of this country, Mr. Hamid Ansari, saying, "Mujhe dar lagta hai." Muslims fear. You had Shah Rukh Khan's wife, Rao, who said, "I feel afraid." You polarized Bollywood. I'm sure they don't mean it. I'm sure there's more to it than meets the eye. But the fact is, they are icons in the eyes of Indians. You've got them to say this. Please leave the army out of polarizing this country. And the army itself, I told you, Sarv Dharm Sthal, I told you, whatever my religion be damned, even if I'm an atheist. I told you, Vipassana, my religion is the religion of the troops. Full stop. I keep all their functions. I don't follow Chhat, but in a particular point of my service, when I was a commandant, I had a majority of Biharis. I was horrified. You cut down 200 banana trees because the lady is praying for the health of the husband. I said, okay, cut them. If it's your faith, allowed. Then I paid for and planted 10,000 banana trees over there. Your troops' religion is your religion, whatever it is. And if they eat halal, you will eat halal. There is no doubt in my mind. I've eaten it. Where's the problem? The religion of your troops is my religion. Next, please.
I think a couple of us have to attend another meeting. So let us
Terminate.
let's conclude this.
One last question, sir. Just one quick one. In all the operations I've read, there doesn't seem to be an account of a helicopter from either side being fired upon. Was there an unsaid rule?
I have fired upon.
Oh, you have. Okay.
I have personally fired. Wait, is it not there in the book?
No.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so because I've.
Let me check. Acha, anyway.
So it actually rule nahi tha.
So you are lucky. I am the guy who's pulled the trigger.
Okay. But
I just
did you bring?
I just told you that report when I reported one casualty. Signal intelligence caught on at the div level. Above me is a CO, above him is a sector commander, Channa, above him is a divisional headquarters. And they have high-tech resources in 1984, whatever was high-tech, and they caught it. 2 casualties, 1 fatal, Captain Nabil Khan injured, Puma coming to rescue him. The CO added, convert machine gun to ACAC role. That is anti-aircraft role. And it is after this, of course, I fired the machine gun, which was peanuts. It was 2 kilometers away. Machine gun range is 1800 meters. It was after this that for me, 2 SAM-7s, surface-to-air missiles, the latest the Indian Army had at that time, were moved, I am told, from Mathura, along with their operators. One operator fell sick and dropped down. The second continued with our man, and the second died. Before he could reach me, he died. In the process of walking up, he died. Coming from Mathura, etc., etc. So the missiles my guys got to me. Can you imagine young Captain Sanjay Agarwal with 2 SAM-7s? I, at one point, don't even know whether the missile is like this. So I don't even know, is this the side the missile will come out, or this the side the missile will come out? So you're watching it, oh, missile. फिर ऐसे रख दो कि इस पे बर्फ ना लगे, गरम मत करना कि इसको बर्फ ना लगे तो गरम कर दे, गरम भी मत करना, अपने पास सुला लेना, ऐसे सुलाएंगे कि अगर बैक ब्लास्ट हो तो हम ना उड़ जाएं, अंदर रखनी पड़ेगी टेंट में. All our weapons used to sleep with us. You have to keep them warm, so they used to sleep with us. And then I said, now how do I fire this? So orders were relayed from Leh on telephone to my adjutant, Captain Samuel, and Sammy would tell me, yaar ye dekh, can you see this? I said, yes. Don't put it on, but if you put this on, the battery will start and you have 7 seconds or 5 seconds to fire. And he said, don't put it on, because then, so I fired. And with that fire, and I missed. One missile went God knows where, and the second missile, because the chopper, because they could see me, people 300 yards away. So they knew a missile has been fired. Not at the first time when the Puma came for Nabil. Nabil Khan was evacuated. And later on, I requested somebody to find out. They said, sir, hum bata nahi payenge. So I don't know whether he's alive or not. I didn't want to tell Brigadier Sher Afghan, whom I met 6 times in the flag meetings that I had with Pakistan later. And I didn't want to ask the Paki Secretary of Defense, who was my co-speaker when I was speaking in a NATO conference in Turkey in 2017. It was on my mind. I'll just tell him, it's 1984, your Commando Asgar Force, there was a guy called Nabil Khan. If he's alive, mera salam bol dena usko. But I said, nahi yaar, nahi batane ki cheez hai ye. I almost told him. The Paki Defense Secretary was a former Lieutenant General of the Indian, or the Paki Army. And he was my co-speaker. And he became a great friend. And he even he requested me not to interject and find fault with what he is going to say. And remember, Turkey is pro-Pakistan. So I was in enemy country. He was on home ground. Turkey has Ziaul Haq's photo in their Defense Officers Institute. Portrait, not even photo. And he said, if you want, I will go to the washroom when you speak. I said, don't worry, sir. You say your bit, but remember, I also have a tolerance threshold. Kata, don't worry, I won't cross that. Lieutenant General, very, very cultured, polite, अच्छे खानदान का व्यक्ति. I have a lot of respect for this gentleman. Yeah.
So the reason why.
So we will cover this tomorrow. The
Yeah.
reason I want to tell you this is because obviously Brigadier Khanna, let me say, may not remember the details. So you ask me this firing issue tomorrow, day after.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's good that he also is aware of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
And they have, of course, they used to fire. I told you they had the 12.7 mm PKT, which they were firing on us, which is a bigger and therefore longer range. And that is why our choppers also had a problem coming up even into the post, 3 posts behind me.
Okay.
And our guy had to walk down and then get into a chopper, etc. Because they were firing at us. We had no chopper hits. But their choppers stopped coming after I fired the missile, which came up within, I think, a month or so.
Oh.
Very good. And tomorrow you can ask me about that sniper thing because the book wrongly mentions it as I killed them with the MMG.
Right.
Yeah.
I have killed them with the sniper rifle. And that's all right. Fog of war, memory. We are all humans. So that's it. That's it for today.
That's it for today.
Yes, sir.
It
Thank
was
you, sir.
quite something. Thank you.
Okay, now Kabir, the onus is on you. We've done 2.5 hours yesterday. We've done 3 hours plus today. So that's close to paune 6 ghanta. So day after should be the last day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we should be able to wind up. And thereafter, if there are any specific questions, you will come up with those
So
thereafter.
what we'll do, sir, is that we won't
spend
time on the details of what's already in the book. We'll do more about the psychological, emotional aspects, because the details of operations that is already in the book, we won't spend time. Only those that you feel are missing from the book, we'll.
Okay, so those 2-3 things you can note down, please, so that before I have to, and you can ask it in a generic manner. First is the capture of OP Hill, which you already asked me today, and I said take it on tomorrow.
Yes.
Second is the SAM-7 firing, which you asked me, any firing done, etc.
Yes.
The third is the rescue of Bhuiya.
Yes.
The fourth, crevice rescue we've spoken about today, and the LMG part we've spoken about the previous session that we had.
Yes.
And then you can ask about ask Colonel Khanna about establishing the credentials of the battalion. Because suppose you have a bad image, you as a person, Kabir.
Yes.
Your whole team suffers.
Correct.
Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Suppose Sajad Nadiadwala group has a bad image for whatever reasons, right or wrong. The positive or negative effect of your image, reputation trickles down to your organization.
True.
And therefore this issue of establishing credibility, it worked out providentially so well. So we will cover this as well.
Okay.
And these pictures and all I've shown you. That's it from my side. Anything else that you want me to specifically address? You may not know now, you will have a power within yourselves.
Yeah, that's
you
what.
all can, Tanmay, you can depute Tanmay to WhatsApp me